Is killing me supposed to seal your victory or something? Rain spat, his voice laced with anger and frustration. Or am I just some warning, a chicken to scare the monkeys? An ant to be crushed underfoot? He clenched his fists, his mind racing with thoughts of powerlessness. Damn it, being weak truly is a sin. Hamilton studied Rain's hardened expression. Though he didn't know who Rain had crossed or what kind of power was after him, he suspected it wasn't trivial. Still, a question lingered. Why hadn't Rain sought guidance from his mentor, Perez? Perhaps it was pride, or perhaps something else. Rain, Hamilton said, his voice firm yet sympathetic, don't rush to retaliate when you're still growing your strength. Revenge has its time, and that time will come once you're prepared. Rain exhaled deeply, his expression softening. He wanted nothing more than to act, to charge out and end whoever was behind the attempt on his life. But the reality of his situation was a heavy weight. His strength was insufficient. For now, the best he could do was bide his time. The old adage crossed his mind. A gentleman's revenge is never too late, even after 10 years. But his youthful impatience balked at the idea. 10 years? Too long. Seize the day. That's how we young people should live. He looked up at Hamilton. Lord Hamilton, do you have any advice on dealing with assassins? If they failed this time, I doubt they'll give up. Hamilton frowned, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Aside from increasing your strength, fortifying your defenses is key. You need protection. As a matter of fact, I have something that might help. Protection? Rain tilted his head in confusion. Hamilton nodded, gesturing for Rain to follow him into a small compartment at the back of his office. Inside, a rack of swords gleamed, but Rain's attention was drawn to a large clothing rack he hadn't noticed during his previous visit. Hamilton retrieved what appeared to be a cotton waistcoat and handed it to Rain. The moment Rain took hold of it, his eyebrows shot up. The garment was deceptively heavy, weighing around 20 to 30 pounds. What is this? Rain asked, puzzled, as he examined the waistcoat. It's a type of brigandine, Hamilton explained. Looks like simple clothing on the outside, but inside, it's reinforced with metal strips. Here, turn it over. Rain flipped the garment and inspected the lining. Rows of metal plates, about 2 fingers wide, were stitched between the layers of fabric. The strips were riveted horizontally to ensure flexibility and durability. The arms, however, were left unarmored for mobility. Put it on, Hamilton urged. Rain slipped the brigandine over his shoulders, adjusting the fit. Though heavy, it felt snug and secure like a protective second skin. He patted his chest, testing its sturdiness. If an assassin struck him now, he felt confident he could withstand the blow and retaliate. How much does this cost, Lord Hamilton? Rain asked, reaching for the small pouch of gold coins he carried. I only have 18 imperial gold coins on me, but I'll pay the rest later. Hamilton waved him off with a chuckle. Rain, consider it a gift. As your superior and a fellow night watchman, it's the least I can do to keep you alive. Rain hesitated, but eventually nodded, expressing his gratitude. Thank you, Lord Hamilton. With the brigandine secured, Rain returned to his quarters, carrying the spoils of his day, the bottles of poisons and antidotes from the earlier mission, as well as the assassin's dagger. He carefully labeled each vial with a goose feather pen: wound poison, lethal poison, paralytic poison, and more. Rain wasn't naive. Poison wasn't an honorable tactic, but honor meant little in a fight for survival. Greatness may be the epitaph of the noble, but meanness is the passport of the living, he thought grimly. He planned to test the potency of the poisons later, perhaps on small animals, to determine their efficacy. If they worked well, he'd coat his fine steel greatsword with them. The blade was long enough to require a fair amount, but since he'd acquired the poisons for free, he wasn't concerned about waste. If it keeps me alive, I don't care how underhanded it is, he thought, his resolve hardening. For a moment, a wild idea crossed his mind. He had heard tales of the Lime Martial Saint in his past life. Perhaps in this world, he could forge his legend as the Poisoned Sword Saint. Shaking off the thought, Rain turned his focus to his system notifications from earlier. Concentrating, he opened the interface. Your skilled giant bear sword technique has improved. Experience plus 101. You have experienced a battle. Night Watchman Professional Experience Points plus 55. His giant bear sword technique was on the verge of leveling up, just 1 point shy of advancing to LV4. Rain decided to practice in the secluded woods nearby. Gripping his sword, he began executing the moves with precision. Moments later, the long-awaited notification appeared. You have trained in the giant bear sword technique, and your comprehension has improved. Your skill has advanced to LV4. Fragments of new techniques flooded his mind. His movements grew sharper, more refined, as muscle memory absorbed the knowledge. The giant bear sword technique felt more natural now, each swing imbued with newfound power. By the time Rain returned home, it was late. The streets were quiet, and the moon hung high in the sky. As he opened the door, he found his mother waiting at the dining table. "Why are you so late? I heard you went on a mission today," she said, concern etched on her face. "It went well," Rain replied, handing her a small bundle of pies he'd picked up along the way. She gave him a skeptical look, noting his change in attire. "And what's this you're wearing?" Rain glanced down, realizing he still had the brigandine on. "Oh, this? It's protective gear Lord Hamilton gave me. You don't have to worry about me so much now," he said, slapping the armor with a dull thud to emphasize its durability. Her eyes widened as she touched the garment. "Amazing. I had no idea such things existed." Rain smiled softly. "Now, I'll be safer when I'm out on missions." After a quick dinner, Rain retired to his room to tally his gains. As he reviewed the poisons, antidotes, Rain examined the spoils of his latest endeavors, a strange, luminous ore, a dagger of unknown black metal, 18 gold coins and 17 silver coins, and a collection of bottles and jars containing poisons and antidotes. He deliberated for a moment before pocketing the coins. The poisons and antidotes were carefully sorted into a wooden box, which he slid under his bed for safekeeping. As for the peculiar piece of ore, Rain picked it up and weighed it in his hand. Its faint, blurred glow intrigued him. This needs an expert's opinion, he thought. He decided to consult Boris, the blacksmith, about it the following day. Worried Boris might covet it? Rain smirked. His greatsword wasn't just for show. Finally, he turned his attention to the black dagger. Pulling a strand of hair, he placed it on the blade and blew gently. The hair split in two instantly. "Hiss! Sharp enough to cut hair," he murmured, impressed. Considering its compact size and practicality, Rain decided to carry the dagger for self-defense. It was far more discreet than the conspicuous dual-handed greatsword. With the loot sorted, Rain shifted his focus to his status panel. Name: Rain Carlin. Profession: Blacksmith LV1, 52 out of 100, / Night Watchman LV2, 207 out of 300. Constitution 9. Strength 10. Agility 9. Spirit 11. Remaining attribute points 0. Remaining skill points 0. Skills: Blacksmith Strength LV3. Hammer Mastery LV1. Danger Perception LV1. Giant Bear Sword Technique LV4, 0/1000. Rain frowned slightly. The single attribute point he had held in reserve was gone. A disappointment, as it had been a valuable trump card. Still, there was progress to be made. "I'm more than halfway to leveling up as a blacksmith, and I'm 2/3 of the way through as a night watchman. If I focus on one aspect in the next few days, I can earn another attribute point soon enough," he reassured himself. Though the day had been filled with travel, combat, and an assassination attempt, Rain's increased constitution left him feeling capable. He decided to push forward with his nightly training. "Diligence leads to excellence. Play leads to ruin," he muttered, repeating an old saying. Rain began practicing the second movement of the giant bear breathing technique, a motion resembling a kettlebell swing. His improved strength made the movement easier, but his endurance was still being tested. Just days ago, he could only maintain it for 18 minutes. Tonight, he pushed himself to an impressive 27 minutes. You have practiced the giant bear breathing technique, and your understanding has improved. Your skilled giant bear breathing technique has improved. Experience +2. The system notifications confirmed his progress, and Rain felt a surge of excitement. He was nearing the 30-minute threshold, a milestone that would allow him to begin the third movement of the technique. Moreover, his improved constitution and strength seemed to be accelerating his gains. Over the course of an hour, he had accumulated 26 experience points, advancing the skill to LV2 77/300. Breathing hard but satisfied, Rain reflected on his training. Strength makes the movements easier, while constitution extends my endurance. They complement each other perfectly, he mused. The next morning, Rain arrived early at the blacksmith shop. "Rain, you're here." Boris greeted him warmly. "What's the plan today? More horseshoes or something new?" "Not today, Uncle Boris. I came to ask you about something." Rain glanced around to ensure the other apprentices weren't watching before pulling the strange, glowing ore from his pouch. The faint, soft light it emitted seemed to ripple like liquid. Boris's eyes widened in shock. A moment later, he grabbed Rain by the arm and dragged him into the storeroom at the back of the shop. "Rain, where did you get this?" Boris demanded, his voice a mix of amazement and urgency. "What is it?" Rain asked, puzzled. This is glowstone." "Glowstones?" Rain repeated, unfamiliar with the term. Boris nodded emphatically. "A rare and incredibly valuable mineral. It's worth several times more than star iron." Rain's heart leapt. The small piece in his hand could fetch dozens of Empire gold coins. But its value wasn't purely monetary, as Boris eagerly explained. When added to a weapon in the right proportions, glowstone gives it special exorcising properties, Boris said, his voice low and serious. "Exorcising?" Rain asked, tilting his head. "To drive away evil," Boris clarified. Glowstone weapons are one of the few things capable of harming certain creatures, skeletons, zombies, demons, or spiritual entities. Normal weapons can't even scratch them. Rain listened intently as Boris continued. "You're lucky, Rain. The Empire and its churches have cleared out most of the evil within our borders, so you haven't encountered any. But rumors of cultists performing blood sacrifices are spreading. If those rumors are true, we might see such creatures appear nearby." Rain's thoughts turned to his greatsword. "Uncle Boris, could you incorporate this glowstone into my dual-handed greatsword?" Boris shook his head regretfully. "It's not that I wouldn't, but our forge isn't equipped for it. Glowstone requires a much higher melting temperature than regular iron, and we'd need a blast furnace to handle it." "Then what should I do?" "You'll need to go to County Town," Boris said. "There are skilled swordsmiths there, and their advanced forges can handle glowstone. They'll be able to infuse it into your greatsword." Rain nodded, deep in thought. County Town. It seemed his next step was clear.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
County Town is the stronghold of the Habu's Earl family, and Clea's brothers should all be in County Town as well. Now is clearly not the right time to head to County Town in search of a high-level blacksmith shop. Rain immediately dismissed the idea of going to County Town, as it was most important for him to focus on raising his blacksmith profession level. He turned to Boris and said, "Uncle Boris, today I'd like to learn about weapon sharpening." "Sure, come on." Boris agreed without hesitation, as it didn't matter whether Rain learned tempering or sharpening first since he had already paid the tuition fees. Ever since acquiring the fine steel greatsword, Rain had decided to learn weapon sharpening first and leave the tempering for later. Because to maintain a weapon in good condition, maintenance is important, and sharpening is a crucial part of weapon maintenance. Quickly, Boris brought Rain to the open space behind the blacksmith shop. There lay several whetstones of different sizes, strewn haphazardly around. "These are all oil stones used for sharpening knives, but why do you think they're called oil stones?" "Take a guess, Rain," Boris said with a smile, pointing at a large stone about the height of an average person's thigh. N/O/vel/B/forward/C//om. The stone's top surface showed a fine concave curve from repeated use. Could it be related to oil? Rain pondered briefly before guessing. Boris picked up a single-hand sword that was waiting to be sharpened and sat down on a wooden stool in front of the oil stone, seemingly preparing to demonstrate for Rain. "You're basically correct. It's called an oil stone because before using it, you have to drop a bit of oil on its surface, Boris revealed the answer. He then took a small iron pot, poured a little oil onto the top surface of the oil stone, and scraped it a few times with the blade to spread it evenly. The main purpose of applying oil is to reduce friction, he explained. Ho ho! Boris gripped the sword hilt with his right hand and pressed his fingers on the sword spine with his other hand as he began the sharpening process. After finishing the sharpening, the metallic particles from the blade or edge will remain on the oil, allowing them to be easily wiped off with a cloth, which is very convenient, Boris explained while demonstrating. The whole set of actions was not difficult. Rain watched attentively, and as soon as Boris finished demonstrating, he immediately began to try it himself. It didn't take long for Rain to find the knack, and system prompts soon appeared. You have sharpened a weapon, gaining insight. You have learned a new skill, weapon sharpening. Your skill weapon sharpening has improved, experience +1. You focus on weapon sharpening for 10 minutes, blacksmith professional experience points +1. Beneath the blacksmith panel, alongside existing icons such as repairing donkey hooves, nailing horseshoes, and stoking bellows, a new icon had been added. This new icon, situated above the icons like repairing donkey hooves, featured an oblong whetstone with a short sword on top, clearly depicting a weapon sharpening scene, vivid and lifelike. Another important point was that Rain discovered the blacksmith professional experience provided by weapon sharpening was higher than that from or identification. In about an hour, he could gain approximately 5 profession experience points. This made Rain very excited. The reason seemed to be because weapon sharpening required precise vision, strong hand strength, and constant concentration. Fortunately, Rain's constitution, strength, and spirit attributes had all increased significantly recently. So, even though sharpening weapons was exhausting, Rain was still able to persevere for a long time. 1, 2. So, Rain, whose heart was set on leveling up his blacksmith occupation, worked tirelessly through the entire morning sharpening weapons without taking any rest at all. He cleared out nearly half of the pile of weapons laid out on the ground, needing to be sharpened. He didn't even spare the kitchen knives. As noon approached, Rain wiped the large sweat droplets from his forehead and let out a long sigh before finally taking a break from his work. Glancing at his panel, his blacksmith profession level had successfully reached blacksmith LV1, 76 out of 100. This gave Rain a thrill of satisfaction, a sense that hard work indeed pays off. Rain's work efficiency even brought a beaming smile to Boris, who was watching from a distance. Rain, won't you consider coming to work for me? I'll pay you extra. After declining Boris the blacksmith's offer again, Rain got up and headed home. Not long after Rain left the blacksmith shop, heavy hoofbeats suddenly echoed from the main road behind him in the little town. The somewhat heavy sound of these hoofbeats immediately caught the attention of the townspeople on the road, who turned their heads to look. Rain was no exception and turned to look as well, only to see a group of 5 people riding tall warhorses approaching from the north. After entering the town, the group slowed down, allowing Rain to get a clear view of their features. The leader was a burly man with a full beard. Although he rode an exceptionally tall black warhorse, his feet were only 20 to 30 centimeters from the ground, looking as if an adult was riding a pony. Rain understood that the illusion was due to the man's towering stature. This couldn't help but astound him. That height must be over 2 meters 3. The man wore a horned helmet and thick leather armor, studded with sharp spikes on its surface. Besides his shoulders and torso, his limbs were mostly exposed, apparently to maintain flexibility during combat. His arm muscles bulged, and the muscles on his thighs were terrifying, each like protruding rocks, a clear indication that he was a fierce warrior of strength. The most eye-catching feature was the huge single-bladed axes hanging on either side of his horse, one on each side. As the group drew closer, the town's residents stepped aside, looking at them with a mix of awe and reverence. And Rain was in the perfect position to notice further details about them. He saw the crescent shape of the axe head, almost as wide as a door at its widest point before tapering towards both ends, the axe itself being about 1 meter long, with the round metal handle nearly half a meter. These were heavy and sharp heavy weapons. the moon blade battle axes. Encountering such a massive giant paired with heavy axes, it was no wonder that even the sturdy black warhorse was struggling to carry the load. The black horse snorted fiercely, and in this slightly chilly late autumn, 2 columns of steam visibly rose intermittently. The people following were also dressed in a similar wild style to the giant, each strong, imposing, and fierce in stature. Wait, that's not right. The last one is actually a young girl, about 18 or 19. Although she wore similar clothes, her physique was much more delicate. Mounted on her horse, Rain could still roughly estimate her height to be between 1.70 meters and 1.80 meters. Indeed, much more delicate. Behind her was an exceedingly exaggerated round shield, the shield's diameter well exceeding 1 meter, making the delicate girl appear even tinier. The shield seemed to be made of some kind of thick wood, with a protruding iron disc about the size of a palm at the center and a narrow band of iron wrapped around the edges to tighten it. There was also a long-handled battle axe hanging on the side of the horse, but it was clearly 2 sizes smaller than the giant's axe, and unlike the crescent-shaped blade, it was a common lumberjack axe design. Could this actually be a very rare female shield-bearer? This turn of events left Rain curious, and he couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. The shield girl's bronze skin looked very healthy. Her deep blue eyes, delicate nose, and cherry lips fashioned an unexpectedly exquisite face. Compared to her rugged attire, there was a distinct beauty. A light gray linen headband intertwined on her forehead, securing her light yellow hair that naturally fell to her shoulders. The headband was likely used to keep the hair at the sides of her forehead from interfering with her vision during combat. The girl's attire was somewhat different from the other warriors in her squad, seemingly wearing a short-sleeved chainmail underneath with a leather vest over it, exposing her smooth, fair thighs. Her figure was curvy, especially the upper body, which was quite sensational. Even the combination of the chainmail and leather vest couldn't obscure her exaggerated, firm curves, presenting an enticing arc. Not far from Rain, there happened to be 2 patrolling officers who also witnessed this scene and whispered to each other. These seem to be barbarians from the Northern Empire. What do you think they're doing all the way here in Meister County? Can't you tell? Look at the silver bounty hunters badges on their chests. That's a mid-level bounty hunter's badge, and these folks must be a team. Wait, I think I've heard of a purely barbarian bounty hunters squad in Meister County, and it seems to be these people right here. An officer pondered for a moment. Then his eyes lit up, and he excitedly said, "I remember now. That's right. It must be them." The lead big barbarian, nicknamed Giant. His real name is Harold, known for his exaggerated height and a pair of crescent battle axes. Seemingly having heard the 2 officers' quiet conversation, the leading barbarian, Harold, actually turned and glanced at them. Such keen hearing. But it seems they were right on the mark. Rain couldn't help but take another look at the knowledgeable officer. Barbarians, huh? Rain suddenly realized. No wonder their appearance and style were so rugged. They truly lived up to the name barbarians, for they much resembled the barbarians, also known as Viking pirates in Rain's past life memories from Europe. But what would a barbarian bounty hunter squad be doing in Flashgold Town? Logically, they should all be mixing in the county town, only in the big city where there are enough bounty tasks to earn gold coins. Wait a minute. A thought suddenly crossed Rain's mind. Could it be for killing the ogres in Nightingale Forest? Rain stroked his chin. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. He had heard before that sometimes the officials would offer high rewards for particularly dangerous missions. This prevented the Empire's official manpower from being tied up and reduced unnecessary casualties. It also mobilized the enthusiasm of hundreds of mercenaries and bounty hunters, preventing these hormone-driven individuals from disrupting local security. 2 birds with 1 stone. If it was to kill ogres, that clearly counted as a dangerous task. At that moment, Rain suddenly smiled and shook his head. What am I guessing here for? The destination they're heading toward is clearly the town hall. Just ask around after lunch, and I'll know everything. For now, better hurry home. Spend the afternoon in the blacksmith shop, and see if today, or at the latest by tomorrow, I can level up my blacksmith profession level. Without those attribute points on hand, Rain always felt a bit uneasy. Thus, Upon returning home, Rain, under the astonished gazes of his family and Anna, devoured his food with the speed of a whirlwind. "Eat slowly, Rain. Brother, you eat so fast." "Ah, I'm full. Father, Mother, Anna, you guys eat slowly. I'm heading to the blacksmith shop first," Rain said with a smile as he rubbed little Bo, his head, and then left the house. Watching their son head out with such enthusiasm, the family members exchanged glances, all with a look of surprise on their faces. But being diligent is a good thing, isn't it? As soon as Rain stepped out, he walked briskly towards the administrative hall. Upon reaching the hall, he approached a familiar guard and inquired about the barbarians he had seen earlier. "Rain, you mean them?" "Indeed, they just spent some time in Lord Hamilton's office, apparently seeking help," he said. "I heard they took on Viscount Hamadi's bounty in County Town to eliminate the ogres in Nightingale Forest. But due to the unclear situation, they are also worried about encountering multiple ogres, so they asked Lord Hamilton to provide more detailed intelligence." Lord Hamilton agreed to their request and said he would contact the Habsburg estate soon to send out hawks for scouting. These barbarians seem to have gone to the beach hotel now, waiting for the results of the hawk scouting. I guess they'll stay a few days before they act. N/O/vel/B//. That's C//OM. Rain nodded. "I see. Thank you. A wise move. Having hawks to help scout is much better than going to Glimmer Lake themselves to track the ogres. The latter is not only tiring, but also very dangerous. Moreover, they are experienced and know that most sheriffs will not tolerate ogres in their jurisdiction, so they will likely agree to help in the investigation. It seems like this is indeed an exceptionally efficient team of bounty hunters." Blacksmith shop. In the afternoon, Rain continued to focus intently on weapon polishing. Except for drinking water and using the restroom, it was as if he was welded next to the grinding stone. The sound of whoosh whoosh polishing echoed in the open space of the blacksmith shop for the entire afternoon. The few blacksmith apprentices in the shop had already become numb to Rain's tireless performance. Since Rain had behaved similarly with the bellows previously, they were not too surprised. But they still couldn't avoid being compared thriftily with Rain by Boris. After several hours, Rain finally received the delightful system prompt. "You have polished weapons, insight enhanced. Your weapon polishing skill has improved, experience +1. You focused on weapon polishing for 10 minutes, blacksmith professional experience points +1. Congratulations, your blacksmith profession level has increased." Rain, seeing his blacksmith profession level on the panel rise from LV1 LV2 0/300, couldn't help but wipe his sweat, showing a relieved smile. Looking further down, he saw at the bottom of the panel the remaining attribute points, 1, and remaining skill points, 1. With this point of attribute points, Rain felt much more at ease, always prepared for what comes next. As for the skill point, Rain thought about it and decided to hold on to it for now, thinking it over when he got home. Since he had leveled up, Rain planned to head home early. It was now early evening, about half an hour earlier than he had anticipated. In high spirits, Rain took a detour to the pie shop and bought Bo her favorite meat pie. As Rain was walking home with the pie, he saw a group of rough-looking, tattooed strongmen carrying clubs and leading 4 or 5 shiny-coated, spotted dogs, hurriedly walking down the street. The pedestrians nearby, seeing them, quickly dodged to avoid any trouble. One of the leaders, a bald strong man, took out a piece of clothing and let the spotted dog sniff it again. And soon the dog started sniffing around as they walked, unknowingly heading in the direction. Upon seeing that group of people, Rain's heart immediately clenched. He instantly dashed into a nearby alley, watching intently. These mangy, spotted dogs looked quite different from regular dogs. That's why Rain immediately thought of the hyena gang that Hamilton had mentioned. With their somewhat rounded, large ears, bodies covered in splotches of various sizes, a row of narrow mane running from the back of the head down the spine, and the extra protruded upper and lower jaws and canines, they looked to have an extremely strong bite, enough to be intimidating. As the group moved on, Rain, who followed them all the way, increasingly felt something was amiss. These directions clearly led to his home. Could it be that the hyena gang has finally realized Blackbeard and Scarface are missing and came knocking? NOVLB //JNN. At the doorstep of Anna's house, the few spotted hyenas stopped and began to furiously bark, a sight that immediately brought smiles of delight to several burly men. A bald, burly man, together with 4 or 5 of his men, surveyed the house, muttering amongst themselves. Although a distance away, Rain, whose physical abilities had significantly improved, could hear their conversation clearly. This should be the last place Blackbeard was seen. Boss, why don't we storm in? Are you an idiot? With so many people around, do you want to get caught by the sheriff? We'll sneak in, once it's dark, scolded the bald, burly man as he smacked his subordinate on the head. You all go ask around, whose house is this? Okay, boss. Suddenly, the bald man's underlings dispersed, asking the passers-by questions. Looks like I guessed right. Thankfully, I didn't let Anna go back, or the consequences would be unimaginable. Rain's eyes narrowed as he swiftly climbed to the second floor of his home from the alley. He needed to fetch his greatsword. Looking at the situation, trouble was definitely brewing. In Rain's courtyard, Anna, seeing her home surrounded by a group of fierce, burly men and hyenas, had her complexion turned pale. Her usually fair face now looked even paler. She crouched down, tightly hugging little Bo He, her lips pursed, daring not to make a sound. At that moment, one of the bald, burly man's subordinates walked up to Anna and Bo He and asked, "Hey, little girl, do you know who owns this house?" The man also figured, as a neighbor, Anna was likely to know whose house it was. He spotted her and Bo He first as they were gardening in Rain's courtyard. That pleased him, as it meant they didn't have to go asking around anymore. When faced with the question from this hyena gang member, Anna trembled, her lips stammered, but she made no sound. "Are you mute? Speak up." Seeing Anna silent, the gang member lost his patience, his attitude turning even worse. Meanwhile, Rain, who was now in his room on the second floor, had just picked up the sheepskin-wrapped fine steel greatsword. He glanced downstairs and cursed, "Damn, did they figure out that it's Anna's house so quickly?" Originally, Rain wanted to follow these men after they left, then take them out quietly. But he hadn't expected them to target Anna so swiftly. Almost without hesitation, Rain decided to take the offensive. At that moment, he silently climbed down from the second floor to the alley and then strode towards the entrance of the alley. It wasn't until he was nearly at the front of Anna's house that he pretended to notice the bald, burly man and his group, his expression hesitant, not daring to approach. Rain's sneaky behavior immediately caught the attention of the bald, burly man and his gang. Immediately, a burly man stepped forward suspiciously and asked, "Kid, is this your home?" "No, no. How could this be my home?" Rain pretended to be frightened and quickly waved his hands. As he spoke, he quickly stepped back. This only made the bald strong man more suspicious of Rain. Suddenly, Rain turned and ran toward the forest on the other side. Seeing Rain's panicked look, the bald strong man's face suddenly broke into a radiant smile as he turned to his subordinates and shouted, "We've got our man. This kid is definitely up to something. Catch him, release the dogs. He actually thinks he can escape the tracking of our gang of hyenas." How naive, several gang members joked as they released their tightly held leashes. 4 or 5 spotted hyenas, like unleashed wild horses, followed behind Rain, barking wildly as they speedily gave chase. Meanwhile, the gang member who had planned to give Anna a good lecture saw that the rightful owner had been found, so he glared fiercely at Anna and immediately ran back to the side of the bald strongman. The bald man and a group of subordinates, giggling and laughing, casually followed behind the pack of hyenas towards the woods. All of their faces bore a confident look that Rain would surely not escape. Anna and Bo He, however, were watching the scene unfold with a mixture of surprise and panic. But soon, Anna realized something and stamped her foot in frustration, her hands clenched at the cuffs, knuckles whitening, her face filled with anxiety. Although she didn't understand what was going on with Rain, who had changed a lot lately and had even rescued her from 2 villains the last time, she still felt that Rain might not be able to withstand the attack of so many people and dogs. At that moment, Anna felt completely useless. Rain was once again solving her problems, but facing the endangered Rain, she had no idea what she could do to help him. "Sister Anna, don't worry. I believe brother will definitely scare these bad guys away," Bowie said, batting her large, innocent eyes at the anxious Anna. Bowie's faith in her brother carried a strange confidence. Perhaps every little sister fantasizes about having a brother who can protect her. However, hearing Bowie speak so confidently, Anna's heart actually felt less anxious than before. Yes, last time Rain had miraculously appeared and killed 2 burly villains, saving her. Who could have expected that? This time, Rain should create a miracle again. However, Anna was still trying to think of what she could possibly do. That's it. She remembered. The new sheriff in town seemed to have a good relationship with Rain. "Bowie, you go inside the house by yourself. Sister is going to look for the sheriff." Anna crouched down, gently holding Bowie's hands as she spoke softly. "Okay, Sister Anna, go ahead. I'll lock the door." "Good girl." Anna gently touched Bowie's head, then quickly got up, grasped the hem of her long dress, and ran towards the town hall. In the woods, Rain raced along and, feeling it was secluded enough, started to slow down his pace. The 5 spotted hyenas, quickest of all, had chased up to him as he stopped and immediately surrounded Rain, barking furiously. Rain showed no sign of panic, leaning against a tree, holding the dual-handed great sword wrapped in sheepskin, and swung it forcefully a few times. The strong whooshing sound instantly scared the hyenas from immediately attacking. How come these gang of hyenas members haven't caught up yet? Why are they so slow? Rain muttered. The few spotted hyenas in front of him could be dispatched by Rain in just a few seconds if he chose to strike them down. But doing so might alert the gang members early to the anomaly, causing them to scatter in all directions. Therefore, if he wanted to catch all in one net, he could only pretend to be surrounded by the pack, waiting for the enemy to take the bait. Rain waited for a full 5 minutes before the bald bruiser finally arrived with 5 men in tow. "Boss, this kid thought he could outrun our gang's Precious. What a fool! Now he's surrounded, haha." "Yeah, boss, this brat dared to run. Shall we break his legs first?" one of the gang members said with a snarl, waving a thick wooden stick. "Kid, weren't you quite the runner? Why aren't you running now?" At that moment, the bald bruiser glanced disdainfully at Rain and said, "Brat, why run at the sight of us? Also, is that house yours? Tell me, where did Blackbeard go?" The bald man's barrage of questions instantly confirmed all of Rain's speculations. As expected, they were members of the hyena gang. "You're from the hyena gang?" Rain asked. Kid, how did you know?" "Could it be that our hyena gang's reputation has spread from County Town to Flash Gold Town already?" a gang member said, a look of delight crossing his face. But after hearing Rain's question, the bald man felt something was amiss. Although the kid in front of him seemed scared, his eyes were too calm, not like he was really frightened. Just as he was about to say something else, Rain, with his head lowered, said, "Since you're from the hyena gang, then I'm sorry." The next second, Rain's hands shook, and the dual-handed greatsword, wrapped in sheepskin, immediately revealed its true form. Moreover, I must emphasize that it's not me who's surrounded. It's you who are surrounded by me. Now, the few hyena gang members also realized something was wrong. "How do you have a weapon? You're violating the Empire's public security regulations." One of the gang members looked down at the wooden stick in his hand, then at the dual-handed greatsword in Rain's, and thought, "Damn, why does it feel like this kid is even more brazen than us?" Whoosh! What responded to them was Rain's whirlwind slash, swift as thunder. Rain took a step and flashed into the center of the few spotted hyenas nearest him, and his fine steel greatsword drew a beautiful semicircle in an instant. Suddenly, blood and limbs flew in all directions. 2 of the spotted hyenas were beheaded by Rain in one fell swoop. Another 2 had their forelimbs chopped off and were squirming on the ground. These vicious dogs had been barking at Rain for quite some time, and now, at last, it was much quieter. A whine, The only surviving hyena cowered behind the bald man's legs in fright. The scene had the few hyena gang members' eyelids twitching. "Don't panic. It's just one kid, and there are 5 of us. What's there to fear? Charge!" The bald bruiser steeled his heart and led the charge, swinging a long wooden stick as he rushed towards Rain. Hearing the bald bruiser's words, the few simple-minded hyena gang members with well-developed limbs snapped back to reality. Their expressions seemed to say, "Right, no matter how tough this kid is, he's still just one person, and we've got a whole 5 people here." Immediately, they followed the bald bruiser and rushed at Rain. Rain chuckled to himself. If these guys had decided to run in different directions, he wouldn't have been able to chase them all at once. But unexpectedly, they still dared to counterattack. Was it because he still looked like a youth? N/O/vel/B//C//om. He really didn't know what to say for a moment. Whirlwind/Furious/. Rain charged like a tiger descending the mountain, and after 2 strokes, there were only 2 people left standing on the field. "Run! Hurry, and go notify the gang." The bald, muscular man reacted quickly, pushing another gang member and shouting loudly. He realized that this unremarkable-looking youth was obviously intentionally hiding his strength, luring them into a trap. His few companions were likely to meet their end here. The bald man reacted quickly, but Rain's reaction was faster. As that hyena gang member turned to flee, a shadow had already caught up from behind. Swish! Blood splattered, and in an instant, everything below the opponent's knees was severed, with the total number of people on the ground increasing by 1. The next second, the bald, muscular man couldn't escape the fate of losing his legs either. Now, including the bald, muscular man, all members of the hyena gang were lying on the ground, all nice and neat, not a single one missing. Rain didn't spare the hyena that had narrowly escaped either, executing it directly. Instantly, the once imposing line of hyena gang members was now all laid out on the ground. At that moment, Rain took a walk around the field and finished off all those who hadn't fully died yet, leaving only 2 witnesses alive as planned. This scene almost made the 2 bald men wet themselves as they shouted, "Don't kill us! Don't kill us! Shut up! Whoever blabbers, I'll finish off." Rain's icy gaze silenced the 2 witnesses instantly, as they looked at Rain in terror, afraid of provoking him further. In fact, up to this moment, the 2 hadn't figured out how their hunt for Blackbeard had led them to this grim reaper. Rain had deliberately left 2 witnesses alive, but injured to interrogate them separately about King Dog Cole's situation. He then separated the bald man from the other gang member by about 20 meters, and as both legs of the bald man had been cut off, he wasn't worried about him running away. Rain interrogated the gang member first. "Spill it. How did your hyena gang leader Cole instruct you?" Holding the dual-handed greatsword, Rain patted the crippled gang member's cheek and said, "Keep your voice down. Don't let the bald guy hear. I will verify the stories from both of you." The shivering, crippled gang member nodded repeatedly and said, "Don't kill me. I'll talk. Boss Cole sent us to investigate the disappearance of his brother Blackbeard from a few days ago. We asked Blackbeard's old flame in County Town a courtesan. She told us that before he left, he mentioned he was headed to Flashgold Town to get some goods. So, that's why we came." Rain nodded, waved his sword tip, and commanded, "Continue." The hyena's sense of smell is exceptionally sharp. If they sniff Blackbeard's old clothes, they can follow the scent to the places where Blackbeard had been in Flashgold Town. Rain nodded, so that was it. It made sense. These hyenas had large noses. Their sense of smell was far more acute than the average canines. Clearly, they had picked up on Blackbeard's scent lingering in Anna's home from a few days ago. That was how they had tracked him down. What about the strength of your hyena gang leader, Cole? And that mutant hyena, known as the Hyena Queen? Rain continued his questioning. Boss Cole's strength. Rain asked the same questions to the bald gang leader. Being a gang leader, the bald man's information was more comprehensive. After cross-verifying the information from both, Rain sent them off to reunite with the other gang members. Since they were part of a gang, they naturally should be kept together in order. Of course, that included their hyenas. Passive defense, especially against a county town gang with no bottom line, Rain thought was not a good approach. So what he could do was to carefully plan and see if he could take the initiative to strike first and solve the problem once and for all. Otherwise, the disappearance of such a core group in Flash Gold Town would certainly alarm Dog King Cole. Once they attacked again, it would not just be a few people. It's possible that Dog King Cole would personally take action. At that time, not only would Anna be taken away, but it could also jeopardize the safety of Rain's family. This was something Rain simply could not agree to. As for seeking help from Hamilton, Rain had already considered this. And even if they agreed to offer protection, unless the whole family stayed indoors all the time, there would always be a day when a slip-up occurred, giving the hyena gang an opportunity to catch them. This was a risk Rain could not afford to take, nor could he dare to. From the recent interrogation, Rain had obtained some key information. It turned out that although most of the hyena gang's operations were in the county town, Dog King Cole had an unbreakable routine of returning to the dog-fighting farm almost every day to rest. Accompanying him were over a dozen core members of the hyena gang. The dog-fighting farm, although named like a manor, was in fact just a farm situated between Flash Gold Town and County Town, according to the bald man and another gang member. The huge wooden dog sculpture at the entrance was its hallmark. The dog-fighting farm, as the name suggests, was a place Dog King Cole set up for dog-fighting gambling, where almost every day was filled with the barking of dogs and the shouting of gamblers, never-ending chaos. Therefore, Dog King Cole came up with a solution by surrounding the entire farm with a 2-meter-high white birch fence. At the same time, a large number of fruit trees were planted inside the fence, effectively blocking the noise from inside the farm. Otherwise, the clamor from dogfighting could probably be heard miles away. In addition, Rain was relieved to learn from the bald man's description that Dog King Cole was tall and strong. But Dog King Cole's strength was not that of a formal knight, meaning that he had not yet reached the transcendent level. However, the hyena queen could not be underestimated even more. As big as a wild boar, with immense strength, and she had birthed a large litter of pups, which Dog King Cole let roam in the dogfighting farm. Those 5 hyenas were all offspring of the hyena queen. After raiding their loot, Rain pondered as he walked towards home. Just as he was about to reach the front door, he saw Anna and little Bohi. They both seemed to be anxiously explaining something to a few night watchmen, frequently pointing towards the forest, with expressions close to tears. Additionally, Rain took a closer look and recognized these 3 night watchmen. They were Captain Whalowin and the 2 elite members of the Night Watch he had stayed with previously. He was naturally quite familiar with them. After all, they had fought against vicious wargs together and slaughtered murlocs. Why have they come? Could it be that Anna called for them? Without hesitation, Rain quickly stepped forward. Seeing Rain return, Anna and little Bo, he immediately rushed over excitedly. "Brother, Sister Anna, and I were so worried about you." Little Bo, he plunged straight into Rain's arms, holding him tightly. Sister Anna was going to the administrative hall to call for the guardian officer, but halfway there we ran into Uncle Whalowin and the others. Rain's heart warmed, and turning his head, he saw Anna looking at him with concern. Her face was pale, and her chest was heaving, clearly from running with her frail body. Seeing Rain look at her, their eyes met, and Anna shyly lowered her head. At this moment, Whalowin stepped forward and said to Anna and little Bohi, "You 2 worry too much. I told you nothing would happen to Rain, but you didn't believe me. Now you believe it, huh? Huh? Rain, what's the situation? Was it a few scumbags from the hyena gang?" Whalowin turned and asked Rain. Rain nodded. "Yes, 4 or 5 hyena gang lackeys came here with their hyenas. They were investigating the disappearance of Blackbeard." "This matter?" Whalowin glanced at little Bo, he without saying much more. Rain immediately understood and patted little Bohi's head, saying, "Bohi, you go home with Sister Anna first. Big Brother and Captain Whalowin have something to discuss." Bohi blinked her large eyes, glanced at Rain and Whalowin, then turned to take Anna's fair hand of her own accord. Big Brother, make sure you come back early, okay? We'll wait for you to have dinner together." Rain smiled and nodded, saying, "Go on, then." After watching the 2 of them enter the house, Rain's expression became solemn before he spoke to Waylon. Captain Waylon, there are the bodies of some of the hyena gang members I killed in the forest. I might need your help dealing with them. This statement immediately caused the other two elite night watchmen to change their expressions and cast sidelong glances at Rain. Waylon's face hardened. You killed them all? Rain nodded. He hadn't spared even a single dog. NOVL, B/JNN. All right, I'll take care of it. However, once the hyena gang finds out, they're likely to target you like mad dogs. Rain, be careful on your own. I'll strengthen the nighttime patrols around your house. Thank you, Captain Waylon. I'll be careful, Rain said with a warmth in his heart as he nodded. Waylon patted Rain's shoulder and quickly led his two subordinates in the direction Rain had indicated. As soon as he entered his house, Rain could sense something odd about the atmosphere. He heard his mother ask, Rain, I heard from Seema that a group of people with hyenas were loitering at our doorstep. But when I just asked Anna and Bo, both of them said they were in the yard planting vegetables and hadn't noticed. His mother Emma continued with a hint of suspicion as she looked once more at the two women. Rain immediately had a clear understanding in his heart. It seemed Anna harbored the same thoughts as him, not wanting to overly worry their parents about the matter. Mother, Aunt Seema must have seen wrong, as I didn't see anyone with hyenas when I came back either. Is that so? Seema really is getting old. Her eyesight is going. Hearing Rain say the same, Mother Emma finally relaxed and stopped probing into the matter. After dinner, Rain went back to his room, but shortly after, there was a knock at the door. Come in. It was Anna knocking, and little Bo, he was also peeking around the doorway. Come on in, both of you. Once the two women were inside, Rain closed the door and said in a low voice, Don't worry about the hyena gang. I'll handle it. And, Anna, thank you for not telling my parents about this. Otherwise, it would have just caused them unnecessary worry. No. It should be me thanking you, Rain. You've helped me once again, Anna said, lowering her head with interlocked fingers, nervously twisting the hem of her long, waist-clenching dress. Little Bo, he giggled and said to Anna, Sister Anna, if you pull any more, the dress will tear. Ah! Anna immediately let go of her hands, but realizing Bo, he was teasing her, a blush couldn't help but spread across her face. After Anna and Bo had left, Rain remembered to check the system notifications. Your skill giant bear sword technique has been improved, experience plus 67. You have been through a battle, night watchman professional experience points plus 34. The experience points were not much. It was expected. After all, a few gang members were involved, and their contribution to the experience points probably largely came from those few hyenas. Rain glanced at the remaining one skill point he had, and after a moment of thought, decided to continue to allocate it to the blacksmith's strength. Since he was about to go do a job, naturally, he had to invest points in a skill that could decisive hammer. After blacksmith strength was upgraded from LV3 to LV4, the text suddenly distorted. What used to be the blacksmith strength in 4 characters was changed to strength burst, which could not help but greatly surprise Rain. There was such a change. Core skill, strength burst active. Effect. When the skill is activated, your strength will double. Note, this skill originates from the blacksmith strength pushed to its limit, and its duration is directly proportional to the host's constitution and spiritual power. Note, this skill cannot be further improved at this stage. Rain noticed that after the evolution of blacksmith strength into strength burst, not only had the name changed, but the LV sign was also gone, indicating that the core skill strength burst like dark vision could no longer be enhanced through skill points. Moreover, the description of the skill effect had undergone a significant change, from greatly enhanced to doubled. This change perfectly complies with the rule, less is more. Doubled. This meant that during the period the skill was activated, Rain's current 10 points of strength would instantly increase to 20 points. This already surpassed the likes of an official knight like Hamilton, and was on par with the ferocious hyena men, perhaps even slightly beyond. What does this imply? This means that as long as the enemy's strength is below that of an official knight, during the duration of strength burst, it would be nearly impossible for them to match Rain in strength. What this represents goes without saying. Rain licked his lips, his corners turning up slightly. This really came at the right time. Previously, when Rain was interrogating the leader of the hyena gang in the dense forest, he had asked about the strength of Dog King Cole. "Is your boss Cole an official knight?" The other party shook his head. At that moment, Rain was greatly relieved. At the same time, a plan slowly started to take shape in his mind. Since the strength of Dog King Cole was not that of an official knight, he was in trouble. Revenge couldn't wait for another day. Rain intended to strike directly at the heart of the hyena gang before they could react. Previously, faced with the assassination among the heirs of Earl Harris's family, Rain had already been boiling with rage. But there was no helping it. The situation was stronger than people. And now, these darn hyena gang were bullying him? After some thought, Rain took out a small sharpening stone he had purchased from blacksmith Boris and dropped a few drops of oil on it. He then picked up the fine steel greatsword and started to sharpen it energetically. The dual-handed greatsword had a tiny notch that had been damaged by a black dagger during a fight with an assassin. As the greatsword was sharpened on the oil stone, the fine notch on the blade soon became barely visible, becoming incredibly sharp once again. Was that the end of it? No. Coat it with paralyzing poison? Too kind. Coat it with wounding poison? Still not quite right. So, deadly poison was the best choice. Rain took out a black square bottle and poured a few drops of brownish poison liquid onto a small piece of cloth, then gently wiped the fine steel greatsword with the cloth, mainly on both sides of the blade. Oh, not enough to use. Rain discovered that applying poison to the dual-handed greatsword really used a lot of the poison. After adding it 3 times, it still wasn't enough. Finally, Rain poured about 1/3 of the bottle before it was sufficient. He applied it to both sides of the blade, front and back. Looking at the fine steel greatsword emitting a faint green glow, Rain finally nodded in satisfaction, then wrapped the greatsword again in sheepskin. After checking one more time, Rain seemed to remember something, took out a long strip of gray cloth, fiddled with it on his face, and used a black dagger to cut 2 holes in the middle before tucking it into his chest. Everything was ready. Before departing, Rain still practiced the giant bear breathing technique for a while. A fist always ready, a song always on the lips. As long as he was breathing, the practice of the breathing technique would never stop. However, Rain was very good at controlling the extent in order to adjust his body's functions to their optimal state. After his family had fallen asleep, Rain quietly left the house through the second-floor window. Looking up, Rain noticed the sky was pitch black tonight, devoid of moonlight and starlight, covered instead with thick clouds. With his night watchman corps' skilled dark vision, Rain felt no discomfort. Instead, he felt a slight thrill, his heart beating a bit faster. He carefully avoided the patrolling night watchman and hastened toward County Town. According to the information he had extracted earlier, he needed to follow the main road heading north, and after about an hour's walk, he would see the conspicuous sign of the dog fighting farm. After seeing the sign and turning right, another 5 minutes walk would bring him to the dog fighting farm. Before long, having covered most of the distance, Rain suddenly felt his face getting wet. He looked up and saw the dark, unlit sky now starting to drizzle. This was actually a good sign. Rainy nights, perfect for murder without leaving traces. Carrying a sheepskin-wrapped greatsword, Rain first walked a full circle around the dog fighting farm from a distance. Originally, he had planned to hop directly over a fence into the farm. But with his passive skill, Danger Perception LV1, Rain felt something was off as soon as he approached the birch fence. He faintly sensed danger, as if climbing over the fence would be perilous. Therefore, Rain stood outside the fence and inspected the inside carefully. .in/o/vel/b//and .c//om. With his dark vision, he quickly spotted the problem. It turned out that behind the fence, in the wooded area, the ground was lined with many large wild boar traps, the serrated jaws of the traps covered with fallen leaves. If one wasn't observant, they would be hard to notice. If one were to get caught, there was a high probability of breaking a shin bone, unless you were a knight wearing thick plate armor boots. Beyond that, Rain also spotted quite a few doghouses in the orchard. These half-meter-tall doghouses were almost all occupied, each housing a glossy-furred, fierce dog. The night rain grew heavier. The sound of the pouring rain, Waralala, masked Rain's footsteps and also diluted his scent, allowing Rain to observe the dog-fighting farm from outside at ease. After a moment's thought, Rain quickly circled back to the main entrance of the dog-fighting farm. Although it was very late, he could still faintly hear bursts of cheering coming from inside. Clearly, some dogfight competition was still ongoing inside the farm. This was a bit later than Rain had anticipated. Thinking it over, Rain decided to wait a little longer before making his move. It would be better to act after the dogfight competition inside had ended and the crowd had dispersed. After all, not everyone who came for the dogfight belonged to the hyena gang. A significant portion were customers from County Town. Rain even saw several carriages, each bearing various intricate designs representing the family crests of some nobles. This indicated that at least some nobles' heirs came to this dog-fighting farm in Coer for entertainment. It seems the rumor that the hyena gang had backing was probably true. Not going to Hamilton was also the right move. As a lord and the town security officer, Hamilton might agree to protect his family, but he definitely would not offend certain nobles in County Town for him to eliminate the hyena gang. If it were doable, Hamilton would have done it by now. After all, from a security perspective, taking down the hyena gang would certainly be a notable achievement. But the hyena gang's continued existence must have its reasons. Rain was never lacking in patience when it came to important matters. Over an hour later, the competition inside the farm seemed to have ended, and the carriages at the entrance had also returned to County Town with their owners. The dog-fighting farm was rarely this tranquil. With the night deepening and the rain softly falling, the two young gang members responsible for guarding the gate were languidly hiding under a nearby shelter to rest, not even bothering to close the farm gate. One of them was already sound asleep, while the other had his arms crossed and his head down, dozing off against a porch pillar. As a local gang in Meister County, the quality of the hyena gang's members could easily be imagined, with most being mere thugs. Expecting them to stand guard dutifully in the rainy weather in the middle of the night was simply a fool's dream. The negligent guards naturally made things much easier for Rain. Rain took a gray cloth out of his pocket, covered his eyes with it, and tied it tightly at the back of his head, resembling Zorro, except that Zorro's mask was black, while Rain's was gray. Sneaking in quietly, Rain, with 10 points of strength, simply used both hands to snap the neck of the dozing young man and slowly laid his body down. Then, he grabbed the throat of the man who was fast asleep and dragged him into the curtain of rain. In the dense forest. At first, the man didn't understand what was happening and tried to struggle fiercely, but when Rain landed a punch in the upper right section of his abdomen, right where the stomach was, his eyes bulged out immediately. He became much more compliant in an instant. But that wasn't the end of it, as Rain wasn't in a rush to question him. After stuffing his mouth and giving him another round of brutal beating, only after breaking 2 of the man's fingers did he leisurely ask, "Is Cole inside?" "Yes, yes." The man, subjected to a beating and finger-breaking without a word from Rain, was nearly driven to a mental breakdown. "If you're going to interrogate me, then ask. If you don't ask, how do you know I won't cooperate? You just beat the shit out of me without even asking a question?" However, the upside was that as soon as Rain started asking questions, the man spilled everything like beans from a bamboo tube. "How many people are inside? And tell me everything you know in detail." "There are about 15 or 16 core members of our hyena gang inside, plus our boss, Cole." "What about the hyena queen?" "The hyena queen never leaves Cole's side. She's inside the big house." The next second, snap! The hyena gang member's head twisted at a strange 180 degrees, with his bulging eyes staring in death, as if to say, "I cooperated so well, why did you still kill me?" There were no noble signs staying at the dogfighting estate. This made Rain all the more unconcerned. Rain, sneaking his way in, would choose to kill on sight any patrolling members or affiliates of the hyena gang. It wasn't until Rain reached the 3-story wooden lodge at the heart of the dogfighting estate that he was spotted by several wandering hyenas. "Woof woof! Who's there?" As soon as Rain saw them, he stopped hiding and instead rushed straight towards the house's front door. Whoosh! A smooth cleaving slash sent two hyena gang members guarding the door flying, and at the same time shattered the thick wooden door to smithereens. In the hall, aside from a fat, white, corpulent man sitting at the center, there were two ordinary-looking middle-aged men, likely higher-ups of the hyena gang, apparently tallying the evening's dogfighting proceeds. On the long table, there lay stacks of gold coins, over 100 silver coins, and even more shillings and pennies. From the amount and variety of coins on the table, it wasn't hard to tell that the daily gambling income from dogfighting at the estate was substantial. Moreover, it catered to all classes. The poor could place bets with pennies and shillings, while wealthy merchants and nobles naturally bet with gold coins as the unit. When the two hyena gang upper echelons saw rain bursting through the door, they couldn't help but stand up and shout, "Guards! Guards!" No need to shout anymore. All your guards have returned to the goddess's embrace. Rain took a look around, his gaze skipping over the two normal-sized humans and focusing instead on the enormous fat man and a huge hyena. This was a fat, bald, white giant of a man who stood over 2 meters tall, seated comfortably in the center of the hall on a custom-made soft chair upholstered with tender deer leather, his heavy weight causing a deep depression in the cushion. Clearly, this was the boss of the hyena gang, Cole. His dangling left hand was stroking a huge hyena that rivaled a wild boar in size. When it noticed someone had entered, the massive hyena slightly lifted its head that was resting on the ground and squinted its eyes to look. Rain immediately realized that this enormous hyena must be the rumored mutated hyena queen. Confronted with Rain's sudden intrusion, the fat man Cole didn't panic like the other two upper echelons of the hyena gang. Instead, he seemed leisurely as he sized up Rain, his fleshy face making his small eyes stand out, his black and rolling pupils moving briskly, a glint of slyness flashing in his squinted eyes. "This strange friend, if there has been some misunderstanding, we can sit down and have a good talk. If you're an assassin, that's also simple. Look, there's plenty of money on the table. If someone hired you to kill me, you can take twice the amount they're paying you, right from there." Unfortunately, despite his smooth talk, Rain didn't believe a single word, because Rain already knew Cole was known for his stinginess. Furthermore, the conflict between him and the hyena gang had reached a point beyond reconciliation. "Either you die, or I do." Whoosh! Without an ounce of hesitation, Rain pushed off the ground and charged swiftly towards Cole. Just then, the two upper echelons of the hyena gang roared angrily, swinging their iron batons as they lunged at Rain from both sides, trying to block Rain's strike at their boss. Clang! The two hyena gang leaders coordinated their attack flawlessly, striking almost simultaneously, and managed to block Rain's sword with their iron batons. Although both were shaken to the point that their knees buckled and their arms went numb, this brought them some joy, and they thought to themselves, "We thought a lone assassin would be so ferocious. Turns out he's about the same level as us." One of them shouted triumphantly, "Boss, leave this overconfident fool to us. We'll make sure he never returns." King Canine Cole also relaxed his expression at this point. His right hand that was clutching the chair's armrest loosened quite a bit, instead showing a look of someone enjoying a good show. In his heart, he was laughing. The strength and speed of that sword blow, just now, just the level of a primary night attendant, about the same as my two boys, and nowhere near my own. Really don't know who hired this guy to assassinate me. Didn't even figure out their own strength. What is this, a joke? Pure stupidity. Rain had just invoked the blacksmith strength in his heart, but after he swung his sword, he remembered that blacksmith strength had already upgraded to a higher level, strength burst. Looking at the two smug hyena gang leaders, Rain said with a smile, "Overestimating your capabilities? Who gave you the confidence that you could stop me?" The next second, a sound similar to ripping silk echoed. This was Rain's first time executing the newly acquired skill, Strength Burst. Instantly, he felt his heart contract forcefully, pumping a great torrent of warmth. Every major muscle in his body seemed to have been injected with adrenaline, all becoming engorged, swelling, and bulging. As his stature suddenly increased by more than 20 centimeters, Rain's loose plate armor, a product from Hamilton, was stretched taut, and the cotton cloth at the arms, devoid of any metal plates, even ripped open several large gaps. Swoosh! With another whirlwind slash executed, the two dumbstruck hyena gang leaders were suddenly cut in half at the waist, blood splattering everywhere. The lower halves of their bodies remained upright in place for a few seconds, while the upper halves fell to the ground and started to twitch. Ting-dang! The iron batons slipped weakly from their hands, their faces frozen in disbelief and excruciating pain. A full-fledged knight. Cole, the heavy white fat man weighing several hundred pounds, leaped up from his soft chair upon witnessing the scene, his squinting eyes bulging, a face filled with horror and surprise that n/o/vel/b/and.c/om. And the massive hyena queen, who had been lying around lazily, also instantly. Rain had never felt so good before. At this moment, his body was filled with explosive strength, as if his body had been a dormant volcano, but after being guided by the core skill, strength burst. It instantly became an active volcano, with the magma erupting suddenly. A formal night? Rain chewed on the four words that Cole had blurted out and looked down at his swollen body. He instantly realized why the other party had this misunderstanding. Because his current appearance greatly resembled Hamilton when breaking limits. His arms suddenly doubled in thickness, twisted with muscles. At this point, Cole's expression was no longer composed, but instead extremely solemn, holding tightly onto two long crescent-shaped greatswords, 1 meter long blade plus a half-meter handle, totaling 1.5 meters in length. Not much different from Rain's dual-handed greatsword. Even if you were a formal knight, you shouldn't have intruded into the dogfighting estate. How long can your breaking limit state last? However, Rain didn't mean to explain. His core skill, Strength Burst, could only last a few seconds, and listening to the opponent for even one more second was a waste of a chance to fight. To listen, he would wait until he had absolute control of the fight. Taking advantage of the chubby Cole's rambling, Rain pushed hard with his right leg, shooting towards him like an arrow released from a bowstring. Clang! Rain and Cole fiercely struck each other. The grating sound of metal clashing was almost nauseating. Rain stepped back slightly, but Cole had it worse. His 200 or 300-pound body was directly sent flying back to the spacious armchair. n/o/vel/b/forward/c/om. Smack! No matter how sturdy the chair was, it couldn't withstand the high-speed impact of several hundred pounds of flesh. It immediately split into pieces, dust flying everywhere. And Cole was in a terrible state, sitting on the ground, nowhere near the poise of the hyena gang leader. Damn it! Launching a sneak attack, Chubby Cole saw that Rain simply didn't bother with small talk, attacking without a word, even more sneaky than him, cursing out loud in anger. Maria, summon the pack of dogs. Bite him to death. At that moment, the hyena queen named Maria, upon receiving her master Cole's command, immediately cried out to the sky. Oh! Suddenly, a group of vicious hyenas, slightly larger than normal size, baring their teeth, sprang out from all directions, swiftly closing in on Rain. Rain quickly estimated that there were about 40 to 50 in front of him, and moreover, an unending stream of hyenas kept appearing from behind. Indeed, there are only wrong names, no wrong nicknames. The nickname Dog King truly deserved its name. These barking hyenas, which seem to be hybrids of the hyena queen and other dog-fighting breeds, appear to be unified due to the strong genes of the hyena queen, mostly spotted. Even the length of canine teeth, the protrusion levels of the upper and lower jaws, and the shapes of ears and tails varied greatly, but each was definitely robust and fierce, with sharp claws and teeth. At first glance, they were intimidating. Seeing this scene, Rain instantly understood why the hyena queen was called Queen. She was damn prolific. An army of one? Oh! The hyena queen cried out once again. Upon receiving this command from the queen, these strong hybrid hyenas attacked Rain from all sides. Had it been an ordinary person, they might have been overwhelmed by now, but Rain's giant bear sword technique was well suited for this situation. Whirlwind slash! Rain swung the dual-handed greatsword, unleashing a fierce slash, where a silver arc about 2 meters in radius flashed by. In front of Rain, At least 4 or 5 hybrid hyenas were torn apart, limbs and flesh scattered. After 2 or 3 consecutive whirlwind slashes, this group of 40 or 50 hybrid hyenas had been reduced by nearly half. The rest, emitting whining noises, tucked their tails and started retreating. This scene greatly enraged the hyena queen. Nearly half of her offspring were slaughtered by this human right before her eyes. The hyena queen's face twisted viciously, her eyes glowed red, and with a powerful push of her forepaws, her huge body charged at Rain like a young calf. Meanwhile, the chubby white man, Cole, also charged with a great sword raised high. Their coordination appeared to be quite seamless. This was exactly what Rain had hoped for. He had been most concerned that his opponents would keep summoning hyenas and engage him in a drawn-out battle. Unexpectedly, Cole and the hyena queen decided to directly clash with him. The other hybrid hyenas, seeing their queen charging forward, also took the opportunity to attack Rain from all directions once again. Leap slash! Facing the approaching hyena queen, Rain chose to directly confront her head-on, leaping high into the air and slashing down with lightning speed. In midair, the hyena queen's fierce claw strike contested Rain's 20 strength under leap slash. But after all, the hyena queen was not a truly wild beast. She was just a mutated hyena with a massive body. Crack! In an instant, 3/4 of the hyena queen's right forepaw was severed by Rain's fine steel greatsword. Ow! The hyena queen howled in pain immediately. At this moment, Cole's greatsword chop attacked from the side, but was neatly blocked by Rain's guard. Clank! Rain blocked Cole's powerful and forceful strike using strong blade, shaking it fiercely to repel Cole, who weighed several hundred pounds, back several steps. Without stopping, Rain faced the surging tide of hybrid hyenas all around him, once again wielding a magnificent silver crescent arch. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 2 whirlwind slashes followed by a smooth, cleaving slash. The whistling sound of air being cut echoed, and hybrid hyenas were grazed and severed upon contact. The formidable momentum of the hyenas was utterly quashed by Rain. The crowd of hybrid hyenas whimpered and retreated once again. Suddenly, there was empty space around Rain. At this time, the hyena queen, curled up with her severed paw and standing on 3 legs, let out another mournful howl, her body swaying unsteadily as if she was about to fall. Cole, initially puzzled, scanned around quickly and saw those hyenas injured by Rain's great sword lying motionless on the ground. Some had merely their skin nicked, yet they were motionless. This shocked Cole immensely. But the next second, an idea struck him, and he looked at Rain incredulously, exclaiming, "You actually poisoned your blade!" To still use poison at the level of a formal knight? Poisoning a dual-handed greatsword? Could this really be something a typical knight would do? At this moment, Cole's worldview was shattered. A head full of question marks? Hell, who had he gotten himself involved with this time? Facing this powerful and shameless enemy, Cole completely lost his will to fight. Just as he planned to find an opportunity to escape, suddenly, the assassin before him shrank back to his original size like a deflated balloon. At the same time, he staggered unsteadily and almost fell. This gave Cole a sense of revival from despair. Ha 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 ha. So after your strength burst, your body can't hold up anymore. Cole couldn't help but laugh heartily. What a turnaround! At this moment, Cole felt he was back in the game. He could finally avenge his beloved Maria, then die. Cole's face twisted viciously as he raised his greatsword high. Just now, Rain's strength burst duration ended. So, his physique shrank from Schwarzenegger back to that of an ordinary person's. Since it was his first time using this new skill, Rain realized he had underestimated the aftereffects. At this moment, his muscles were incredibly sore, and he almost lost his balance for a moment. No wonder the panel notes said it was not to be further upgraded at this stage. If he boosted it further, while it would certainly be strong, once the duration was up, the after effects might just kill him on the spot. However, Rain quickly thought that this was probably because his constitution was too low. His strength surged to 20 points during the outburst, supported only by a constitution of 9 points. A small horse pulling a heavy cart is bound to struggle. If his constitution were higher, like 10 or 11 points, or even more, the effects of the aftereffects would presumably be much more bearable. Facing the ferociously charging Colin, with a fierce and smug expression, Rain lifted his head and gave him a mysterious smile. "Are you sure?" These 3 words made Colin's pupils shrink, a chill running down from the top of his head to his heels, as if he had been struck by lightning, his rushing, hulking mass suddenly frozen in place. The next second, the portly Colin bent his knees slightly, preparing to retreat. But sorry, too late. For just as Rain lifted his head, his panel's remaining attribute points suddenly dropped from 1 to 0, and his constitution surged from 9 to 10. Instantly, Rain felt as if the thousands of ants biting his muscles were swept away, the soreness and swelling gone. His body's condition returned to its prime in an instant. No, it was even 1 point stronger than at his peak. The next second, as Rain silently invoked strength burst again .n/o/vel/b//and.c//om. Instantly, he felt a powerful surge of warmth from his heart, accelerating his blood flow, veins bulging, and muscles swelling intensely. His body swelled once more, transforming back into Schwarzenegger. So, in the face of Colin, who was now panicking and somewhat baffled, Rain swung the fine steel greatsword, empowered with the strength of 20 points once again. Furious slash. In the blink of an eye, a huge shadow blocked in front of Dog King Colin. But without a second thought, Rain stepped forward and, with a sweeping slash, split the bulky hyena queen in 2, her fetid blood and organ fluids splashing directly onto the portly Colin. "Ah, you bastard! I'll kill you! You actually killed my Maria! Do you know how much effort I put into raising Maria? I'm going to chop you into minced meat." Rain, who had initially considered capturing Colin alive and interrogating him, saw him raving madly, like a lunatic, wildly swinging his greatsword around. Rain knew it was highly unlikely that he could get any useful information out of Colin's mouth anymore. He had gone mad. Swoosh! So, decisively, Rain ended it, cutting Colin's throat with a single sword stroke. You dare kill me, the wilderness? Brotherhood will sooner or later avenge me." Colin clutched his neck, bubbling blood from his mouth, his face filled with resistance, threatening intermittently. "Don't tell me you have another brother, the leader of the Wilderness Brotherhood? You are—" Colin suddenly understood something. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, eyes wide with rage, and died instantly. In the moment before his death, Colt finally realized that the man before him was actually brought here by his own younger brother, Blackbeard. However, what truly made Colt die with his eyes open was, damn it, how the hell did Blackbeard piss off the other party? With the deaths of both the Hyena Queen and Dog King Colt, the mongrel hyenas scattered, tails tucked, fleeing in every direction. Rain swung his great sword with force, shaking off the blood and wiping it down. The fine steel greatsword, which had been emitting a faint green glow, now shone like new. Rain wrapped the greatsword up again in sheepskin and slung it over his shoulder. Then he immediately began searching Dog King Colt's body. A green agate ring and a pure gold ring were quickly removed by Rain. On the other's neck lay a thick gold necklace, heavy in Rain's hand, likely weighing 3 or 4 pounds. After that, Rain walked over to the large coffee table and put dozens of gold coins and several hundred silver coins into a large cloth bag all at once. As for the multitude of shillings and pennies, Rain ignored them entirely. They were too low in value, heavy, and took up too much space. Clearly, this dogfighting manor, as the lair of the hyena gang, should have a place where Dog King Colt stored important items. Thus, Rain began to rapidly check each room, one after another, floor by floor. Soon, in a luxurious bedroom on the second floor, Rain discovered a hidden compartment. The location of the compartment was rather secretive, behind a painting with just enough space to fit a backpack. Moving aside the painting, there was only a brown wooden box inside the compartment. The box appeared quite valuable. Upon opening it, Rain was taken aback to find a book inside. The book's cover was extremely ornate, seemingly crafted from pure silver material, inlaid with noble sapphires, rubies, and turquoise. Its most distinctive feature was the extremely delicate carving of animals, patterns, and leaf veins. Rain's first impression was that the book looked more like a rare piece of art than anything else. Considering Dog King Colt's appearance of weighing several hundred pounds, Rain couldn't for the life of him associate this book with Colt. Rain would never believe for a second that Colt was a man who loved to read. The hyena gang's boss, a cultured man? Therefore, there must be something peculiar about this book. However, before touching it, Rain stood at a distance and cautiously used the tip of his fine steel greatsword to gently lift the cover of the book and flip through a few pages. After confirming there was no issue, Rain then approached and quickly skimmed through a few pages. Rain's expressions changed rapidly, one moment smiling, the next moment showing a puzzled look. He finally understood how Colt had acquired that mutated hyena queen. Apparently, Colt had created her using some records and recipes from this book. The contents of the book were highly eclectic, and the handwriting was quite sloppy. Furthermore, one could clearly see the writing of two different people. For instance, there was a passage that read, "Damn it, why did the other party only bring one bottle of that strange potion? If there had been two, then I could have had two beloved Mariahs." I copied the unknown text onto a piece of paper and sought out several so-called scholars, but none could understand it. These charlatans. The handwriting was definitely Colt's. Naturally, the other type of handwriting must be that of the book's original owner. Rain tentatively concluded that this was likely the diary or notes of someone, which recorded some insights and experiences in taming dogs, horses, birds, and other creatures. Since the record keeper did not leave behind their name, for the time being, Rain referred to the book as the Beast Taming Diary. What set it apart was that the later entries in the diary required certain special potions to be realized. The last few even necessitated chanting some incantations that Rain couldn't understand at all, in combination with specific rituals for completion. This immediately led Rain to speculate. Could this be the diary of a beast tamer? Or could there be druids in this world? And this was written by one? Rain's mind raced with possibilities, but unfortunately, whether it was the potions or the rituals, large portions were interspersed with unknown script, making it presently impossible for Rain to concoct these potions or set up the rituals. In other words, the only sections he could fully understand were a small part at the beginning of the notebook. Mostly, there were recipes beneficial to the nurturing of animals. Oh! Underneath the book in the wooden box, there was even a wooden amulet being pressed down. The amulet was strung on a sturdy, thin leather cord, with the front bearing a flourished large tree with a straight trunk and a canopy like a large mushroom, and on the back, a roaring giant bear, both carved with lifelike detail. Rain picked up the leather cord and carefully examined the amulet before slipping it inside the book. He planned on retreating first, because for the moment, he couldn't decipher the significance of these two items. After securing the important book against his chest, Rain searched the rooms where valuable items might be hidden one more time. Indeed, in a small compartment on the third floor, Rain found a hiding place for gold coins, roughly counting close to 300. Rain quickly pocketed them as well. Before leaving, Rain set fire to the 3-story house. Afterward, Rain took advantage of the darkness and quickly left the dogfighting estate. Since most of the house was made of pure wood structures, although there was light rain outside, it had little effect. Soon, the firelight illuminated the nearby sky. Rain, who sneaked back home in the night, only felt completely relieved after entering his own room. Then he began to feel an all-over muscle soreness and exhaustion. It seemed that even though his constitution had improved slightly, he still couldn't completely eliminate the side effect of muscle weakness following the use of Strength Burst. However, there was obviously an improvement. Rain distinctly felt that the muscle soreness was much weaker than the first time he ended Strength Burst. Furthermore, the onset of this side effect of soreness and weakness seemed to be delayed, not appearing immediately. All these should be due to the increase in constitution. After carefully stashing a large bag of gold and silver coins under his bed, Rain finally had the spare time to pay attention to the system prompts. Your skilled giant bear sword technique has improved. Experience plus 245. You have experience combat. Night Watchman professional experience points plus 123. The giant bear sword technique surged by nearly a quarter of an experience bar, reaching LV4 245/1000. And to Rain's surprise, his Night Watchman profession level went from LV2 207 to 300 to LV3 30 out of 500, gaining another attribute point and skill point. Name: Rain Carlin. Profession: Blacksmith LV2 0 out of 300 / Night Watchman LV3 30 for 500. Constitution 10, Strength 10, Agility 9, Spirit 11. Remaining attribute points 1. Remaining skill points 1. Attribute points are still at a constant 1 point, so there's no plan for that. As for skill points, Rain thought it over, and since Strength Burst could no longer be improved, he naturally leaned toward Danger Perception LV1 over the other upgradable core skill, Hammer Proficiency LV1. After all, the weapon he was currently using was a dual-handed greatsword, not a hammer. Moreover, the earlier one detected danger, the sooner one could seize the initiative. Especially when Rain had encountered a sudden attack from an assassin last time, Danger Perception LV1 had come in really handy. So, after a moment's thought, Rain added a skill point to the core skill Danger Perception LV1, instantly upgrading it from LV1 to LV2. At the same time, Rain immediately felt his sense of touch, hearing, and vision sharpening further n/o/vel/b// and .c//om, and an indistinct, almost imperceptible innate response. Is this the sixth sense? The term spontaneously popped into Rain's mind. But Rain quickly shook his head, since he had never possessed a sixth sense and naturally couldn't determine what this faint response really was. Let's assume it's the sixth sense for the time being. Simultaneously, the panel's description of Danger Perception also changed accordingly. Core skill: Danger Perception LV2 Passive. Danger Perception LV2 Passive effect: your awareness of danger in your surroundings has slightly increased. Note: the acuity of danger perception is related to the host's spirit. The stronger the spiritual power, the sharper the perception. Change from slight to small degree. This was similar to the changes after upgrading the blacksmith strength earlier. Having finished allocating skill points, Rain took out the beautifully bound and luxurious book from his chest, examined it for a moment, and then placed it under the bed. Feeling a bit tired tonight, he planned to read it thoroughly tomorrow morning. Lying in bed, Rain's mood had calmed down a lot compared to this evening when he discovered that the hyena gang members had tracked down Anna's house. At that time, he was filled with emotions like anxiety and anger when he saw the gang interrogating Anna and Bo-hee. After 2 consecutive killings, especially since eliminating the hyena king Kale and obliterating the entire hyena gang, Rain's anger had been fully vented. Now, his thoughts were drifting away. Scenes of recent battles, such as with the hyena gang, the assassin, the malicious mermen, the frenzied werewolves, and so on, flowed through Rain's mind. Although this world is a transcendent one, it seems even more stark, following the law of the dark jungle even more strictly. Currently, I am still very weak. If I want to protect myself, my family, and those I wish to protect, then I must grow faster and become sufficiently strong. Moreover, this world seems to be even more dangerous than I imagined. Gradually, Rain fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Rain woke up early. Sitting by the window, he began to flip through that beautiful book. The patterns on the cover seemed to represent some sort of reverence for nature, as it depicted bears, deer, wolves, leopards, various flowers, and tall trees. Additionally, the animals portrayed here were in peaceful postures, not in aggressive stances. Turning the pages, Rain carefully read the few paragraphs written by the original owner at the front of the diary. This section mainly described techniques for strengthening dogs and gaining their favor. Providing dogs with nutritional meals 3 times a day can effectively promote their growth and development. Nutritional meal recipe: 2 ounces of water root grass, 2 eggs, half a pint of milk, and 20 ounces of pork or chicken. Huh, they're eating better than I do, Rain exclaimed involuntarily. No wonder that mutated hyena queen grew so big. It must be because of this nutritional meal? Is this the canine version of, if you want to win someone's favor, first capture their stomach? Rain couldn't help. As Rain continued to read on, he realized his guess was indeed wrong. For he saw the following record: canine enhancement. To break the shackles of a canine's nature and increase its potential to become ferocious, you can try a daily nutritional meal as the base, with an additional 2 fluid ounces of the mutant growth potion each month. Fluid ounce, a unit of volume. Of course, this unstable potion could cause unpredictable changes in the canine. It must be administered with caution, and observations should be made closely. Should anything go awry, stop the administration immediately and use mutant growth potion formula. 1 ounce of golden sunflower, 1 pair of nocturnal vampire bat wings, 2 carrion wolf claws. Upon reading this, Rain couldn't help but ponder. Connecting with the content previously written by Cole, Rain quickly made a rough guess about the situation of the hyena queen in his mind. Cole must have cultivated the hyena queen Maria by chance using just 1 bottle of the mutant growth potion. But it seemed just as written in the book. In addition to becoming stronger and larger, the hyena queen also mutated. Only, the direction of mutation was the rarely seen reproductive direction. This truly was indeed worthy of being called a mutant growth potion. Rain couldn't help but shake his head. Continuing to flip through the book, Rain saw many other cultivation methods for different animals. Many of the cultivation methods needed to be used in conjunction with potions, and Rain had never heard of those potion recipes. Moreover, the process of making these formulas often involved sections or paragraphs of text written in an unknown language. Is it written in another language to keep it secret, or is it that during the concoction, one needs to recite some kind of incantation? This made Rain lost in thought, seeming more likely that the latter was the case. Gently placing the book down, Rain always felt that this book wasn't so simple. Imagine, why would a diary used for recording by a person have such a magnificent cover? The cover was made of silver, not to mention adorned with noble sapphires, rubies, and turquoise. This was something Rain found a bit difficult to understand. Shaking his head, since he couldn't figure it out at the moment, Rain decided to let it go for now. Setting the book aside, Rain picked up the wooden amulet strung on a fine leather cord to look at. But after a long look, aside from seeing that the animals and plants on both sides of the amulet were carved exquisitely, he could make out nothing else. However, he also understood that anything King of Canine's Cole had put into the wooden box with the book couldn't be simple. It might be just as precious as this book. A flash of inspiration suddenly crossed Rain's mind. Is it possible that both the book and the amulet belong to the same master? This immediately made his eyes light up. In that case, it would be easy to explain why King of Canine's Cole placed the 2 items together. Furthermore, whether it was the patterns on the silver cover of the book or the designs on the amulet, nature could summarize both. Rain stroked his chin, nodding occasionally. The more he thought about it, the more he felt he was grasping the thread of something. However, understanding something and being able to read it are 2 different matters. So, in the end, Rain could only keep the amulet sandwiched in the beast taming diary and carefully treasure it. Afterward, Rain crossed his arms and paced back and forth in the room, deep in thought. The canine cultivation in the front part of the beast taming diary I can understand, and the various materials should also be purchasable. I could try to create something using some of the recipes and formulas mentioned. Perhaps it could trigger the profession panel related to beast taming. The issue of canines is even easier to solve. During the last servant training session, I could have obtained a greyhound puppy for my home. Only I wasn't assessed as a dog trainer, so I didn't waste money to claim it at the time, since adoption would cost 3 silver coins. I can go to the estate myself later and get the canine situation settled. The rest, that would be the recipes and potion formulas. If I'm just starting out, I can begin with simple recipes. The trouble with the potion formulas is the unknown script, which is quite annoying. I'll need to figure out where I can study this knowledge. Since Cole mentioned that ordinary scholars are not familiar with it, this script must be uncommon. But this can be set aside for now. Also, the nutrition meal formula. 2 ounces of water root grass, 2 eggs, half a pint of milk, 20 ounces of pork or chicken. It seems I haven't really heard of water root grass, so I'll have to check the potion shop first. That's decided then. I'll go to the potion shop to see if there's water root grass for sale. If so, I'll buy the ingredients first, then go to get the canine. Rain quickly went over what he needed to do and prepared to head out to Abel's potion shop. Abel's potion shop sells not only ready-made potions, but also a variety of herbs and raw materials. If water root grass is for sale in town, the potion shop is the likeliest place. Soon, Rain arrived at Abel's potion shop. He noticed that Molly was still the one tending the shop. She greeted Rain with a smile as he entered. "Rain, are you here to see Abel again today?" "No, Sister Molly. Please pass my thanks to Mr. Abel for his help last time. I've come today to ask if you have water root grass for sale." "Water root grass? Let me check." Molly seemed a bit uncertain whether the shop had this herb and immediately turned around to check the shelves with the herbs. "Yes, we do, Rain. How many do you want?" "I'll take 3. 3? That won't be cheap, you know. They're priced at 5 silver coins each, so for 3, that would be 15 silver coins. I really don't know what Abel was thinking pricing this herb so high." Molly picked up a pale yellow herb to inspect and muttered complaints about Abel now and then. 15 silver coins? Rain couldn't help but be taken aback. At 5 silver coins each, if he hadn't made a windfall from the canine estate, he might have found this price a bit hard to swallow. "Yeah, by the way, Rain, what do you need it for?" Molly blinked her large eyes, clearly curious about Rain's purchase of the water root grass. "Ha, Sister Molly, here are 15 silver coins." Rain handed over the money with a smile, deliberately not answering Molly's question directly. After receiving the 3 stems of water root grass, Rain quickly left Abel's potion shop. Water root grass resembled radishes in appearance, with a pale yellow skin. It seemed to be the rhizome of a plant, but was much smaller than radishes and had more developed roots. Upon leaving the potion shop, Rain went to other stores and quickly bought all the remaining ingredients. When Rain returned home, his parents were still not back. However, Anna and Bo, he noticed right away what Rain was carrying in his hands. "Wow, brother, what made you think of buying so much food today? That's great. We can have so many tasty things for dinner." That Bo, yes. Seeing his sister so happy, Rain didn't have the heart to voice what he was actually thinking. What to say? That he was planning on trying to make dog food? It wasn't urgent. The daily ingredients could always be replenished later to n/o/vel/b/c/c/om. Naturally, his sister's happiness was more important. At that moment, a familiar voice came from outside. "Rain, are you home?" George called from the doorway. "I am. George, long time no see." Rain opened the door and greeted him with a smile. "Whoa, Rain, you've changed so much." George gestured at Rain's height, saying in surprise. Rain used to be shorter than him, only reaching up to his eyebrows. But in less than half a month, Rain had grown rapidly, almost as tall as him. This greatly amazed George, who grabbed Rain's arm and exclaimed, "Rain, what on earth have you been eating recently? How did you grow so fast?" But the next second, George froze. He lowered his head to look at the arm he was holding. He couldn't get his hand around it. George instinctively pinched with his fingers, feeling the firm yet elastic sensation from his fingertips. George was stunned. Rain, you've changed way too much." George stammered, eyes wide and mouth agape. Not only had Rain grown taller, but his entire figure had also become larger, though it wasn't immediately obvious since his build was still proportionate. Fortunately for George, it was the arm he touched. Had he felt Rain's chest or back, he would have encountered the rigid metal bars of the plate armor shirt. Smack! 2 big guys cut out the touchy-feely. Rain protested as if annoyed. Actually, Rain wanted to prevent George from continuing to touch him here and there, exposing the fact that he was wearing a cotton plate armor shirt. It wasn't that he worried George would tell others, but naturally, the fewer people who knew about it, the better. Sigh. Rain, this change in you is just too great. George seemed quite disheartened. When you eat well, you naturally grow tall. Rain gestured towards the eggs, milk, and meat he had just bought, sitting to one side. George looked puzzled. Then suddenly his expression cleared. No wonder, right? What did you want to see me about today? To avoid dwelling on the issue, Rain changed the subject. I just got a notification from the manor. Training for page boys is resuming this afternoon, George said, slapping his forehead as he remembered the matter at hand. Huh. I had planned to visit the Habsburg Manor later to settle the matter with the greyhound puppies, but I didn't expect the training to resume in the afternoon. After a brief consideration, Rain decided to attend the page boys' training in the afternoon, and after it ended, he would head to the manor's kennel to pick out a greyhound. Rain naturally brought along his cotton plate armor shirt and dagger, but left the dual-handed greatsword behind. It was just too conspicuous. In the afternoon, outside the training ground of Habsburg Manor, the page boys' training began anew. Today's session was focused on the basics of swordsmanship. We've learned the basics of swordsmanship before. Basic swordsmanship has only 3 moves, but whether it's the striding thrust, downward slash, or upward sweep, they are all offensive moves with no defense techniques. So today, we are going to learn how to use the long sword in your hand for defense. The swordsmanship instructor Humbert declared loudly. Rain, come forward and demonstrate with me. Yes, instructor. Rain was taken aback for a moment, but quickly agreed and briskly walked to the front. Are you ready? I'm ready, instructor. The rest of you, pay close attention to my demonstration. Humbert nodded and then turned to address the group of page boys loudly. Humbert raised the wooden sword in his hands level to Rain's chest and delivered a rapid, striding thrust. However, Rain on the opposite side found it odd that the instructor would thrust such a slow sword, even for a demonstration. It just seemed a little too unrealistic. Surely the instructor must have something up his sleeve? Therefore, Rain naturally took a step back, easily dodging Humbert's thrust. Just as Rain thought Humbert would follow up with another attack, he found that Humbert was looking at him with a strange expression. The scene unfolding before him was a bit different from what Humbert had anticipated. Although he had long known that Rain had a natural talent for swordsmanship, having sparred with Rain several times, Humbert was also aware of Rain's general strength. But the thrust he had just performed was executed with 70% of his real strength. Logically, Rain should have barely failed to react in time, with Humbert's sword tip pointing directly at his chest. Then, Humbert would have used this as a proper demonstration to tell all the page boys about the importance of defense and how to do it. Humbert had not expected Rain to be able to dodge so easily. Clearly, this was a failed demonstration. Rain, very effective defense. Let's go again, Humbert said. This time, Humbert's gaze was noticeably more serious, and he planned to use 90% of his strength. After all, if the demonstration failed twice, he wouldn't know how to explain the content that was supposed to follow. He couldn't possibly switch to someone else to demonstrate, could he? Would he still have any face left as the manor's senior guard and the children's swordsmanship tutor? Clearly, Rain was not aware of the swordsmanship instructor Humbert's inner thoughts and immediately nodded. All right, instructor. This time, Humbert didn't ask if Rain was ready, and as soon as he saw Rain take his position, he suddenly thrust forward with a striding motion. Whoosh! This thrust was much faster than the previous one, so fast that it even slightly pierced the air, producing a faint whistling sound. Rain's eyes narrowed, and he silently sighed to himself that Instructor Humbert was finally taking it a bit more seriously this time. The previous attack was too perfunctory, but this one was much stronger. The question was just how much of his real skill was the instructor using this time? 50%? Or perhaps 60%? While Rain pondered this in his mind, his body's movements were not slow in the least. Retreating quickly as if by instinct, Rain swiftly swung his sword, using the strong part of the blade near the hilt to block Humbert's thrust. Perhaps it was because his attributes, especially his spiritual power, had greatly improved. Rain was able to grasp Humbert's long sword trajectory very well, that n/o/vel/ B/// and .C///OM. Moreover, being accustomed to the heavier dual-handed greatsword, swinging the wooden sword felt like waving a straw, quick and easy, so the block was not difficult but rather smooth. Bam! The two wooden training swords struck each other swiftly, and then separated sharply. One could see that Humbert's wooden sword had been knocked aside, while the tip of Rain's sword pointed steadily at Humbert's chest, motionless. At this moment, Humbert could no longer suppress the surprise in his heart, quietly uttering, "Huh," while his mind was overwhelmed by a storm of shock. If the first time could be put down to my own underestimation, leading to the sword being easily dodged by Rain, but this time, I deliberately caught Rain off guard. Moreover, the speed of my thrust this time was obviously much faster than the last. But even under such circumstances, Rain easily blocked it. Humbert didn't know what had happened to Rain lately, but he hadn't seen the boy in just half a month, and his strength had improved to this extent. As for the other children who were watching, some were enthralled, others were shocked and bewildered. Most of the children had only seen the swordsmanship instructor Humbert and Rain exchange blows at an extremely fast pace, then heard a bam, and it was all over. As for how Rain defended, they really didn't see it clearly. Humbert was slightly stunned. Then a flash of insight struck him, and he immediately thought of a way to cover up this failed demonstration. Rain just demonstrated very well. Humbert cleared his throat and continued. Just now, I attacked Rain with a striding thrust, and Rain sidestepped and quickly blocked my thrust with a strong part of the blade, then counterattacked with a thrust, a very good response. Everyone should learn from Rain's defensive tactics, very standard and practical. Upon hearing Humbert's praises, Rain was clearly startled. This did not seem to match the demonstration he had anticipated. Shouldn't it have been him thrusting and then Humbert calmly blocking? But then again, what the instructor just explained seems to make a lot of sense. The group of children looked at Rain with a mix of shock and envy. The one with thick eyebrows stood out the most. As the second-best swordsman among the children, he knew deeply how difficult it was to practice the rapid sequence of defense and counterattack that Rain had just demonstrated. If he was able to spar with Rain before, this time after watching the demonstration between instructor Humbert and Rain, the determination in his thick-browed heart to compete with Rain was completely extinguished. Is this what a swordsmanship prodigy looks like? It's truly despair-inducing. At this moment, his heart was filled with deep disappointment. During the following sparring session, Rain, however, found it completely uninteresting. Clearly, none of the attendants could bring him any experience in basic swordsmanship anymore. If he wanted to earn experience points in basic swordsmanship more quickly, only instructor Humbert's personal sparring would suffice. But recalling the instructor's dodgy gaze from earlier, Rain knew better than to ask too much of him. For the first time, Rain felt that the attendant training, which had greatly improved his strength, was slowly failing to keep pace with his progress, becoming something of a chicken rib. So, seizing a break in practice, Rain approached instructor Humbert and asked softly, "Instructor, may I go practice archery?" Since Humbert was both the swordsmanship and archery instructor, he hardly hesitated and nodded immediately. "You may. Rain, go to the practice range over there by yourself." After all, he knew that apart from himself, there was nobody else among the attendants who could adequately spar with Rain in swordsmanship. But he couldn't very well spar with him personally, for if he were to, would he still have a face to show? At the end of the day, for Rain to continue attending such basic swordsmanship training was meaningless. Archery, on the other hand, remained Rain's shortcoming. Humbert fully supported this. Rain was immediately delighted and said, "Thank you, Instructor Humbert." Rain himself had only intended to try his luck, not expecting Instructor Humbert to agree so readily. Thus, under the astonished gazes of the other attendants, Rain concluded his basic swordsmanship training early and went alone to the nearby target range for archery practice. The night watchman's elite archery had left a profound impression on Rain. Dense and precise arrow volleys efficiently killed the Murloc invaders. Because Rain was reluctant to spend his precious skill points on basic archery, he now had to devote some time and energy to earnestly practicing archery himself. Picking up a war bow with roughly 100 pounds draw weight, Rain began practicing at the wooden targets. Following his increase in various attributes, obviously, even archery training was beneficial to him. With such a draw weight, a normal guard might experience severe fatigue in their arm after drawing the bow 20 or 30 consecutive times, making it difficult to draw again, but the enhancements to Rain's constitution and strength made it seem as effortless as eating and drinking, requiring only a short rest after over 100 draws. The further improvement of his spirit led to a heightened sensitivity and perception, and Rain found himself hitting the bulls much more frequently during archery practice than before. Especially the continuous stream of system prompts, which served as a great source of motivation for Rain. You have practiced basic archery, and your comprehension has improved. Your skill basic archery has improved, experience points +1. Fortunately, although the target range was also outside the fortress, it was at the northwest corner, some 200 to 300 meters away from the central area where the attendants were, and not clearly visible. Otherwise, Rain's archery might have been enough to drop the jaws of Instructor Humbert and all the attendants in shock. By midday, his basic archery skill had improved significantly, reaching LV2, 18/300. Indeed, physical fitness is the foundation of mastering all combat skills. With good physical fitness, learning anything would be much faster. When his physical attributes improved by 1 or 2 points before, the change was imperceptible, but after an all-around increase, Rain felt the difference quite clearly. That afternoon, Rain, George, and the rest of the attendants made their way to the manor's servants' dining hall. But when Rain faced the servants' lunch before him again, he couldn't help but sigh. A large plate of mashed potatoes, 2 thin slices of pickled pork, and a large bowl of vegetable soup were far from enough to meet his body's nutritional needs. Previously, the intensity of the training couldn't keep up. Now, even the nutrition couldn't keep up. The current servant training is really of little use to me now. As for archery, Rain believed the night watchman should have the corresponding training facilities. If it was only the daily forging of iron tools, then the blacksmith boy should have been able to teach everything. It would just cost a bit more intuition, but the freedom was worth it. Rain, why aren't you eating? George, who was sitting nearby, asked as he saw Rain staring blankly. It's nothing. Rain shook his head, and after nibbling on a few bites, he stopped eating. N/O/Vel/B//and .C//om. In the afternoon, Rain still trained in archery by himself. After the servant training ended, he first informed Humbert and George that he had some family matters and would not participate in the servant training for the time being. Then he found a maid to help him contact Chief Maid Shadia. Soon, Rain saw Shadia once again. She was still in her unchanging black maid's attire, and her expression was serious. But when she saw the noticeably taller and sturdier Rain, her face softened somewhat as she slightly smiled and nodded. Rain, you've grown taller and stronger. It seems you have been earnestly practicing the breathing technique left by Lady Clea. Very good. By the way, are you here because you've run out of the black pine oil? Rain shook his head. Thank you for your affirmation, Chief Maid. I came to say that I don't plan to attend the servant training anymore. I'd like to practice the giant bear breathing technique and the giant bear sword technique at home, which might be a bit more freeing. Chief Maid Shadia, after a brief moment of thought, understood Rain's concerns and nodded. Indeed, since Lady Clea left, training at home might indeed be more convenient for you. After informing Chief Maid Shadia, Rain quickly headed to the kennels. He planned to pick up a greyhound puppy to take home. Without much thought, Rain paid 3 silver coins and picked up the greyhound puppy he had played with before. Of course, there are differences between greyhounds, such as lineage and physique. But the physical robustness of a common dog didn't seem very significant to Rain. The main purpose of adopting the dog was to try out some of the recipes and potions recorded in the Beast Taming Diary, and to see if a new professional panel could be triggered. Since that was the case, there was no need to go through the trouble of careful selection. The familiar greyhound puppy he knew was just fine. So, under the sunset, Rain left the manor with the puppy in his arms, heading towards Flash Gold Town. Meanwhile, since Poison Blade hadn't returned or submitted a mission report within the designated deadline, The Wilderness Brotherhood soon realized that the mission had likely failed. As this was a mission handed down by a significant figure from County Town, the Wilderness Brotherhood urgently assigned someone to gather new information on their target, Rain. They quickly came across a surprising piece of news. The once seemingly unremarkable farm boy had actually obtained a junior bounty hunter license. And from the look of the dates, even before Poison Blade had taken on the mission. Those who can obtain a bounty hunter license are likely to be well above the militia level in strength, possibly reaching the level of a first-tier night attendant, or even a little higher, at the level of a second-tier night attendant. If that was the case, it wouldn't have been surprising if Poison Blade had been caught off guard and capsized in the gutter. So, the problem was identified. It wasn't that the Wilderness Brotherhood was too incompetent, but rather that the inaccurate information had cost them a carefully trained assassin. Suddenly, the Wilderness Brotherhood shifted from a passive to an after several days of brewing. The news had made its way up the chain and then back down again. N/O/vel/B//and C//OM. Just as Rain returned to Flash Gold Town in the glow of the setting sun, within a study on the second floor of the Habsburg Manor Castle, noble scion Dennis seemed to be engaging in some night-breathing method training, with some specific parts of his body smeared with an oily dark liquid that emitted a distinctive medicinal scent. And his captain of the guards, Rolls, was at the side, reporting something. What? A mishap? Dennis's face bore an incredulous expression. How could there be a mishap? The butler Michel says it was because we provided wrong intelligence leading to the failure of the mission. So, we must take full responsibility. Rolls looked at the distressed young Master Dennis, thought for a moment, and still decided to relay the exact words of the other party. Damn, taking full responsibility. Did that greedy bastard Michel really say that? Dennis flew into a rage. Rolls nodded and continued. Michel said that Baron Alonso is still unaware of the matter. He's given us 3 days to resolve this situation perfectly. Otherwise, he will report to Baron Alonso, and by that time, your divine blood quota for next month will very likely be gone. Rolf's words seemed to gradually calm Dennis down. Divine blood had become popular among the nobles of Meister County in the last year, delaying aging for the elders and greatly promoting those who had not yet embarked on the path of the transcendent night breathing method. He had just sensed a clear improvement during his breathing method practice, which was worlds apart from before. Most importantly, this divine blood had no side effects. The only drawback was its scarcity and cost. Dennis, bearing the title of a baron's son, only had a small vials quota per month, and it required him to shell out 100 shiny imperial gold coins. He had found out just a couple of days ago that this divine blood had originated from Baron Alonso himself. As the steward and prime confidant of Baron Alonso, Michel's threat was not an empty one. After pondering for a while, Dennis finally spoke. Rolfs investigate this reign further. Could he really be some rare swordsmanship prodigy? If that's the case, we'll spend some money to have an assassin from the Shadow Stingers take care of him. Young master, that if we wait until my investigation is finished before calling on the Shadow Stingers, it will surely exceed 3 days. How about this? Once the investigation is over, I'll take action myself. I bought a few bottles of poison commonly used by assassins, including one lethal poison that is extremely potent. Just a small wound is enough to be fatal. This, though there was no doubt about Rolf's strength. As long as the other party wasn't a formal knight, he would surely succeed. However, Rolf's combat skills were all military-oriented, leaving obvious traces after a fight. It was for this reason that Dennis had been reluctant to have his captain of the guards take personal action. But now, with only 3 days remaining, unless he was willing to forfeit his quota of the divine blood, his captain of the guards was the best choice. And moreover, Rolfs had already prepared the poison. Fine then, just make sure not to leave any obvious traces. At your command, young master. It is my honor to serve you. Rolfs bowed, then slowly left the study. By the way, send for Tina. After Rain returned home with a 3-month-old greyhound puppy, having taken a detour through the store, he immediately attracted the great interest of his sister Bo He. Brother, weren't you at the manor attending squire training? Why did you come back? Wow, Brother, is this a hound? Are we going to keep it? Bohi asked while excitedly reaching out her little hand to pet the black greyhound puppy. Because it was only 3 months old, the greyhound's fur was still relatively soft, making it very warm and comfortable to touch. Rain nodded as he saw the happy expression on Bohi's face. That's great. I've always wanted to have one, cheered Bohi unabashedly. Previously, due to the modest conditions at home, having a small animal had always been a luxury for Bohi, so naturally she was overjoyed now that it was possible. Sister Anna, come and touch it. It's so comfortable. Bohi called Anna over. Anna was also beaming with joy, seemingly very fond of small animals as well. The greyhound puppy was originally a bit shy, but it became less fearful after being gently stroked a few times by the 2 girls' soft hands. Before long, it had indulged in the kneading of their 4 pale, soft hands, and from time to time it emitted a comfortable "oh" sound. By the way, brother, what's its name? Bohi looked up and asked. That? It doesn't have a name yet. How about just calling it Skinny Dog? Rain suggested offhandedly. After all, a greyhound puppy would grow up to be quite slender. The next second, Rain felt 2 disdainful glares coming from his side. Rain awkwardly smiled and said, I'm still considering. If you have any suggestions, feel free to share them. Brother, how about we call it Cookie? He suggested enthusiastically from the side. Cookie, like the cookie from a biscuit? The name didn't seem that great, but when Rain glanced at Anna, he saw her nodding in agreement. Well then, it looked like he would have to go with the majority. Rain ruffled little Bohi's hair and said, All right, we'll follow your suggestion. It will be named Cookie. You're the best, brother. Bohi immediately gave Rain an enthusiastic hug. Leaving Cookie with the 2 girls, Rain then started to prepare a nutritious meal for dogs according to the instructions in the Beast Taming Journal. Watergrass, 2 ounces, 2 eggs, half a pint of milk, and either 20 ounces of pork or chicken. Rain mixed them together as he compared them against the requirements. Soon, a plate of something resembling a soft and wet minced meat mixture was ready. When Rain handed over the dish to the greyhound puppy, Bohi eyed it with some disdain and said, Brother, why are you feeding Cookie this? Why not give it bones to eat? Rain snorted with irritation. Bones? Those things are far more expensive than beef. Ah! Bohi exclaimed, looking at her brother's facial expression, which didn't seem like he was joking. She knew that because of her brother, life had been getting better at home, but they didn't have beef every day. But for her brother to say that this dish, in fact, was even pricier than beef, that really surprised Bohi. Anna, too, widened her beautiful eyes, observing the damp, minced meat in Rain's hand carefully, seemingly perplexed by its high cost. The greyhound puppy's reaction, on the other hand, was much more direct. When Rain approached with the plate, the puppy immediately focused on the food inside, quickly standing up from its lying position, ears perked and tail wagging around Rain, its eyes firmly fixed on his plate. It was clearly hooked by Rain's gourmet dog food. Rain placed the plate on the ground, and the whippet puppy instantly woofed and darted over, gobbling up the food. Seeing the whippet puppy eating so relishingly, Rain couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. Not bad. You got good taste. You know it's the good stuff. If this doesn't work, you scrawny dog, this will be your last meal. Damn it, can't believe it's eating better than us. Rain muttered resentfully in his heart. Giggle. Hearing this, his sister he couldn't help but giggle. Even the usually shy Anna snorted with laughter and quickly covered her mouth with her little hand. But Anna's laughter threshold seemed quite low. She bowed her head, her cheeks turned red, and she was still snickering. At this moment, Rain suddenly froze, and then his face lit up with joy, because the system prompt appeared. You have fed a canine, and your related comprehension has improved. You have comprehended a new skill, dog training. Your skill dog training has improved, experience +1. Congratulations, you have triggered the career panel, Beast Tamer. The total number of career panels has reached the current limit, 3/3. The manners Beast Tamer old man has led us astray. Ah, how could teasing a dog increase intimacy compared to feeding it? I should have thought of this earlier. Rain was speechless in his heart. This simple truth, and yet he had only come to realize it now. But when Rain saw the last item in the system prompt, the excitement in his chilled as if someone had doused him with a bucket of cold water. Reach the limit? Does that mean his current roles as a blacksmith, night watchman, and beast tamer are the only 3 professions he has? However, the shrewd Rain immediately noticed the word current in the system's wording. The 2 words were not hard to understand. That is to say, under the current conditions, I can only have 3 career panels. So, what are the current conditions referring to? Is it the sum of the 4 attribute stats? Or does a single attribute have to exceed a certain value? Or is it that I have to break through to become a knight? It's very likely that after meeting certain conditions, I should be able to break this limit. Of course, it might also require some sort of event similar to triggering a career panel to make the breakthrough. However, Rain couldn't figure out what the condition for breaking the limit was at the moment. What a pity! I haven't had the chance to try other side professions yet. Baker, cobbler, tailor, and so many others. It would be so nice if there wasn't a limit on the number of professions. Rain couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. But upon further reflection, Rain felt a bit relieved. Because if it's true that I can only ever have 3 career panels, then the 3 professions I have now, without making a deliberate choice, it turns out they're all pretty good, and when combined together, they can even be considered an excellent combination. After all, aside from blacksmith, it's unlikely that other life professions would bring him the awesome core skill strength burst, right? As for a tailor, uses needles. Baker, uses an oven. Cobbler? Let's not even talk about cobblers. No matter how you look at it, none of the other professions seemed as reliable as a blacksmith's hammer. As for beast tamer, it appears only falconer might be comparable, right? The system only mentions a limit of 3 professions, but it doesn't say I can't advance or change professions. This thought made Rain's eyes brighten. I can delve deeper into these 3 professions. For example, a blacksmith should be able to advance to a swordsmith or something, right? At least swordsmith is something I've heard of. Likewise, if there is a swordsmith, there should also be armorers and so on. In /o/vel/b//, in .c//om. And the dog trainer, Wayluin boldly guessed, what follows is probably something like beast tamer or beast driver, right? As for my current combat profession, the night watchman, well, it's actually the hardest to guess what the advanced profession would be, but it's likely similar to a transcendent path like the knight's, considering the breathing technique is still clearly listed on the night watchman skill panel. Having figured it out, Rain decided to continue looking further. On the newly added page, the title read 3 big characters. Dog Trainer LV1, 0 out of 100. The icon that was lit up at the bottom was the dog training skill he was just prompted about. The icon as a whole still had rounded square edges, with the pattern in the center depicting a well-behaved dog sitting and sticking out its tongue, looking lifelike. There were also a few small characters below the icon. Dog Training LV1, 1/100. At this moment, Mother Emma had finished preparing dinner and came out from the adjacent kitchen. When she noticed the 3 of them crowded around something on the ground, she couldn't help but come over out of curiosity. Surprise showed on Mother Emma's face when she saw a greyhound lying on the floor eating. She seemed to have something she wanted to say, but was trying to hold back. However, after a while, Mother Emma couldn't help herself and pulled Rain's sleeve, taking him to the room next door to ask, "Rain, I heard from Bo-He that you went to the manor for page boy training, right? Also why did you bring a dog back? Although our family situation has been slowly improving, keeping a dog." Faced with his mother's triple query, Rain couldn't help but smile wryly, thought for a moment, and said, "Mother, I'm about to officially join the night watchman, so I won't participate in the page boy training. These 2 days are a good time for me to adjust myself. Don't worry, our lives are definitely going to get better and better. By the way, this is the reward from the last time Captain Wayluin and I went to Glimmer Lake to clear out the fishmen." Rain took out 3 gold coins from his bosom and handed them to Mother Emma, without mentioning anything about raising the greyhound. Initially wanting to say something, Mother Emma, upon seeing the 3 shimmering imperial gold coins Rain produced, exclaimed in surprise, "Is a reward for a mission so generous?" "Yes. So, Mother, don't worry, we will definitely get better and better. In fact, Rain still withheld some information. The value of just that glowstone alone was worth at least dozens of imperial gold coins. Moreover, he didn't want to mention the details of the mission to avoid worrying his mother. Mother Emma's expression was complex as she nodded and took the gold coins. She didn't say anything more about Rain raising a dog. She had realized that some of her thoughts could not apply to her son Rain. After all, he was now making in one mission what she made in a year. Therefore, if Rain had his own ideas, she should just let him do as he pleased. Soon after, old Rain also returned home, and he, too, was surprised to see the greyhound. But after Mother Emma whispered to him, he looked at Rain in astonishment and then nodded. Dinner was spent in a warm and cozy atmosphere with the family. At night, Rain began his regular practice of the giant bear breathing technique as usual. Starting today, Rain could basically start practicing the third form of the giant bear breathing technique. This stance, unlike the second form of the giant bear breathing technique called Russian squat thrust, which primarily trained arm strength, focused on the core muscles of the waist and abdomen, the lungs, and coordination of the body. The third form involves squatting down with one leg bent, the other leg extended to the side, arms raised above the head with fingers interlocked, then touching the knee with the head, and finally slowly standing up from the squatting position with the one leg. For ordinary people, even if they had excellent flexibility and strength, it would be impossible to stand up with one leg. It seemed that starting from this third form, Rain's practice of the giant bear breathing technique was partially stepping onto the path of transcendent practice. The movement involved core muscles and fascia of the waist, abdomen, and shoulders. So, when Rain first tried it, he felt an unusually satisfying soreness in the muscles of his waist, abdomen, and the tendons behind his thighs where the black birch oil had been applied. Even though Rain already had a constitution of 10, after persevering for about 12 minutes, he had to stop and rest, sweating profusely. But the effects were significant. Practicing yielded experience. From the original consistent +2, it had changed to occasionally seeing a +3. This also meant that the speed of gaining experience for the giant bear breathing technique had become slightly faster than before. After 3 attempts, Rain extended the single session to 14 minutes. Although the total duration of the 3 times was less than 45 minutes, his experience increased by 28 points, and the giant bear breathing technique reached LV2, 114 to 300. Given Rain's current physical condition, he could perform the third form of the giant bear breathing technique about 3 times, and basically, this intensity was close to his limit. The next morning, Rain got up early and went to the woods near his home. The practice of the giant bear sword technique required a spacious place, and after walking some distance in the woodland, Rain found a slightly open clearing. This clearing was about 70 to 80 square meters, surrounded by dense oak trees and larches, providing a good natural sound insulation. Even when Rain swung his dual-handed greatsword forcefully, the howling noise did not carry beyond the woodland to the main road. Then, Rain shook the sheepskin-wrapped fine steel greatsword and began to practice. Rain first raised the fine steel greatsword high, then suddenly swung it downward at a 90-degree angle to the front, swiftly turning to follow with a 45-degree smooth cleaving slash. Immediately after, he quickly stepped forward, pushed off powerfully, and leaped high into the air to deliver a leap slash downward, the greatsword driving the airflow to emit a series of whooshing sounds. The giant bear sword technique comprised 5 forms: furious slash, leap slash, guard, smooth cleaving slash, and whirlwind slash. It could be said that Rain had become very proficient in these sword moves through frequent use in numerous battles. A set of movements was both fast and stable. After practicing several times, Rain suddenly remembered a phrase Clea had mentioned before. The giant bear sword technique originated from mimicking the claw strikes of bear-like transcendent creatures, emphasizing great strength and momentum. This made him reflect once again, quite moved. Each time, when his strength improved slightly, he could clearly feel the enhancement in the power of the giant bear sword technique. Thus, whenever he activated Strength Burst, the power of the giant bear sword technique increased exponentially. Thinking this, Rain consciously incorporated the concepts of strength and momentum and practiced the giant bear sword technique again. You trained in the giant bear sword technique. Insights improved. Your skill giant bear sword technique has improved. Experience +2. Your skill giant bear sword technique has improved. Experience +1. This brought a smile to Rain's face. The notifications for the giant bear sword technique experience were no longer just +1, but occasionally +2, further accelerating the pace of training in the giant bear sword technique. Indeed, apart from diligent practice, any skill requires active reflection. After a morning of hard training, Rain's giant bear sword technique progressed from LV4 245/1000 to LV4 298/1000. In the afternoon, Rain went to John's farm, not far south of Flashgold Town. Last time, the night watchman Captain Whaloin had reminded him that he could find John Moyle at John's farm to learn riding for 2 gold coins. But it had been delayed due to some issues. The reason that spurred Rain to decide to learn riding immediately was not only because future tasks would require more frequent horseback travel. The main reason was that Rain wanted to see if riding could trigger an event, such as a prompt for a job change. Flashgold Town in late autumn was picturesque. Walking on the road outside the town, fields on both sides were a golden yellow, with wheat swaying in the autumn breeze. Many fields had begun the harvest, and heaps of wheat sheaves were piled up together. N/O/vel/B/////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////// Flash Gold Town. Rain felt a different kind of emotion since his father, Old Rain, was also among them. After officially joining the Night Watchman, maybe I can persuade my parents to take a break or switch to a lighter job. After all, for me now, whether they earn money or not really isn't important anymore. Soon, Rain arrived at John's farm, which occupied a large area. Even from the outside, one could clearly see a racetrack enclosed by a wooden fence and the stables nearby. At that moment, numerous black, white, and brown horses were leisurely strolling in the racetrack, enjoying the sunny afternoon. Soon, Rain met a middle-aged man with a ruddy, bulbous nose, and after inquiring, found out he was indeed John Moyle. After paying 2 gold coins as a fee, Rain began to formally learn how to ride. Due to Rain's physical condition having long surpassed that of ordinary people, he quickly learned how to maintain balance on a horse under the astonished gaze of John Moyle. In less than half an hour, Rain could comfortably control the horse to either halt or trot forward. However, Rain did encounter some difficulties while trying to make the horse switch from trotting to galloping around the riding arena. Rain tried squeezing his legs against the horse's belly several times, but the horse beneath him seemed unable to fully understand his intentions, merely quickening its pace instead. "Mr. John, how can I make the horse run?" This was actually supposed to be part of the lessons 3 days from now. "Rain, you have so quickly mastered balance and controlling the horse to move in a straight line. It's hard to believe you had never learned horse riding before." John Moyle was initially taken aback, and after scrutinizing Rain for a moment, he remembered to answer Rain's question. Because he was so surprised, he had taught hundreds of beginners in horse riding, but it was the first time he saw someone who could control a horse to move in a straight line effortlessly after about half an hour from a standing start. As for your question, the answer is simple. Rain, the horse beneath you actually needs you to provide more specific instructions. If you are just squeezing the horse's belly, it's hard for the horse to distinguish whether you want to trot or gallop. Because a trot is a 2-beat gait and running is a 3-beat gait, so you need to lightly tap the horse's belly with your outer leg when its right front and left hind hooves touch the ground, while your inner leg stays close to the horse. I see. Under John Moyle's demonstration, Rain quickly grasped the essentials. A system prompt then followed. You have trained in horse riding, insight enhanced. You have comprehended a new skill, horse riding. Your skill horse riding has improved, experience +1. Unfortunately, the new skill horse riding did not bring any related hints for a career change for Rain. However, learning a new practical skill was in itself a joyous accomplishment. 3 regular days later, after a few days of exploring, Rain had largely figured out how to rapidly advance as a dog trainer. Basically, if he fed the greyhound pup a nutritious meal, his dog training skill would improve by 4 to 5 points, and his dog trainer profession level experience would increase by 1 point. But if he took the dog for a walk, the progression was much faster. About 15 minutes later, his dog trainer profession experience would increase by 1 point. Consequently, Rain added a new daily essential activity, dog walking. Every evening, after feeding Cookie, Rain would take it out for a walk. This made Rain, who had never owned a dog in his previous life, feel a surge of emotions. Additionally, 2 days ago, when Rain was preparing dog nutrition meals, he triggered another professional skill of a dog trainer, dog food production. Possibly because the dog food Rain prepared was quite special. Every time Rain made these dog nutrition meals, his dog food production skill improved rapidly, and his dog trainer profession level also increased swiftly. You made dog food insight enhanced. You have comprehended a new skill, dog food production. Your skill dog food production has improved, experience +5. You focused on dog food production, your dog trainer profession experience +2. However, Rain also noticed a point where the third new profession dog trainer differed from that of a blacksmith and a night watchman. That was the lack of a core skill. In this respect, dog trainer was similar to the entry-level profession of militia. Therefore, Rain surmised that he probably had to wait until dog trainer advanced to a subsequent profession to acquire a core skill. Additionally, over these 3 days, the giant bear breathing technique smoothly increased from LV2 to LV3, 0 for 500. Just the day before yesterday, the training in the giant bear breathing technique rewarded Rain with a +1 increase in strength. This once again proved the foundational role of the night breathing method on the transcendent path of becoming a knight. At the same time, the improvement in the breathing technique brought an important change for Rain, as his control over his body's muscles seemed to be even higher. Specifically, Rain could now easily control the intensity of Strength Burst. Previously, once Rain used the core skill, Strength Burst, he would double his strength without regard. But now, Rain could gradually control the degree of this burst, such as increasing his strength by 50 or 70%. This change not only proved that Rain's control over his own strength was more refined, but it also indirectly increased the duration of the burst. Basically, if Rain kept the strength burst to about 50%, he could maintain the effect for almost 2 minutes. If he went all out, it would be around 50 seconds, slightly better than the previous 45 seconds. Besides, the side effect of sore muscles throughout the body would be greatly mitigated in proportion to the intensity of Rain's burst. This delighted Rain. Refining his control over his own strength was, after all, tantamount to an increase in power. Name: Rain Carlin. Profession: Blacksmith LV2, 0 out of 300, / Night Watchman LV3, 30 for 500, / Dog Trainer LV2, 31 out of 300. Constitution, 10. Strength, 11. Agility, 9. Spirit, 11. Remaining attribute points, 2. Remaining skill points, 1. Rain saw on the attribute panel that, besides agility, the other attributes had already crossed the threshold of 10 points. Suddenly, Rain remembered that a long time ago, the system had once notified him of the prerequisite conditions for the night attendant profession, which required a minimum of 8 points in strength, agility, and constitution to advance to night attendant. This presumably represented the physical attribute threshold for a level 1 night attendant. So, if strength, agility, and constitution all exceed 10 points, does that mean the strength of a level 2 night attendant? That should be about right. If there's a difference of 2 points in strength, agility, and constitution, such a power gap is very noticeable. Putting other things aside, Rain thought back to his swordsmanship practice with Humbert, the instructor 2 days ago, and quickly understood why Humbert had that expression at the time. It wasn't that instructor Humbert was holding back, it was that he had become stronger. Reasonably assuming, once all 3 attributes exceed 12, it's very likely that one becomes a level 3 night attendant. Which means if I add 1 point to agility, making it 10 points, I should be considered to have the strength level of a level 2 night attendant. Just over a month's time, from a skinny youth to becoming a level 2 night attendant, this level of progress is quite something, isn't it? N/O/vel/B//Jin C///OM. Regarding these 2 attribute points, Apart from keeping one as a standby, Rain was momentarily hesitant to use the other between Constitution and Agility. Constitution could lessen the after effects of the core skill, Strength Burst, and increase the duration of his practice. But Agility was equally important, especially since his giant bear breathing technique wasn't one that primarily enhanced agility. Using strength to overpower finesse is all well and good, but great strength is useless if you can't hit your opponent. After pondering for a moment, Rain still couldn't decide. The allocation of skill points posed a similar dilemma. The core skill, Danger Perception, was currently at LV2, which was fundamentally sufficient. So, Rain wondered if he should invest a point into the giant bear breathing technique, directly taking it from LV3 to LV4, which should bring a further increase in strength and constitution benefits in the short term. On the other hand, Danger Perception was a core skill that could only be upgraded with skill points, whereas the giant bear breathing technique could be improved through practice. But upon careful thought, Rain realized that Danger Perception was a sense for danger. When danger was unavoidable, it was ultimately his own strength that determined victory or defeat. The night breathing method was crucial to rapidly consolidating and enhancing his own strength, the key to deciding said victories. Consequently, after slight deliberation, Rain eventually decided to invest a skill point into the giant bear breathing technique. With the giant bear breathing technique promoted to LV4, instantly, fragmented memories of practicing the giant bear breathing technique flooded Rain's mind. These memories were disjointed fragments of breathing exercises. A series of images flashed through Rain's mind and quickly implanted into the memory of his muscles and fascia. When Rain opened his eyes again, it was as if he had undergone a month or two of intensive practice of the giant bear breathing technique. At this moment, he could distinctly feel a certain odd sensation throughout his body, as if there was an itchy feeling coming from deep within his fascia. An instinct from within his body urged him to apply the black tongue oil again and start practicing the third form of the giant bear breathing technique. Indeed, the itchy feeling grew stronger, and Rain felt the fascia in his body start to mutate. It was as if fine, incredibly resilient facial fibers were extending, rooting deeply into his bones and muscle fibers. This change noticeably enhanced Rain's explosive strength and resistance to blows. Even his skin became tougher, resembling oil-soaked cowhide. Beyond that, Rain felt an itchy and hot sensation in his chest, as if he wouldn't be comfortable without letting out a roar. At that moment, a system notification arrived quietly. Congratulations! You have unlocked the exclusive secret technique that combines giant bear breathing technique with giant bear sword technique. Roaring Strike. Following that, an elated Rain saw a brand new icon located above the giant bear breathing technique and giant bear sword technique on the Night Watchman panel. The icon depicted the head of a roaring giant bear, its mouth wide open, fangs sharp, appearing lifelike and ferocious. Roaring Strike LV1 Secret Technique Effect uses powerful lung capacity to simulate the sonic impact of a giant bear's attack, combined with the execution of Whirlwind Slash. Note: Roaring Strike is a secret technique and cannot be directly upgraded with skill points. Roaring Strike LV2 requires the following conditions: Giant Bear Breathing Technique LV5 or above, Giant Bear Sword Technique LV5 or above, Strength 12 points, Constitution 12 or above. So that's how it is. It seems that the sensation of discomfort without a big roar must be due to the giant bear breathing technique's exercise of the lungs. If it weren't already nighttime, Rain would certainly have let out a few loud roars. But the memory of Clea's demonstration made him shake his head. With one shout from him, the residents of Flashgold Town nearby would probably all be woken up. With no other choice, Rain had to restrain himself. The last point was that Rain discovered he had easily surpassed the requirement of maintaining the third form of the giant bear breathing technique for half an hour without realizing it. This meant that he was now ready to practice the fourth form of the giant bear breathing technique. However, Rain felt that he had almost reached his limit for today's breath training exercise and could start the fourth technique tomorrow. Overtraining would be counterproductive. After pondering for a moment, Rain retrieved the lavishly covered, beast-taming diary from under the bed and began to read it earnestly. The content recorded within was exceedingly practical for Rain, as proven by the canine nutrition meal alone. Thus, Rain planned to continue his research and try to develop more recipes, which might once again speed up his profession-level advancement as a dog trainer. Another problem that now lay before Rain was the issue of how to recognize the unknown scripts. This was a big problem. If he couldn't decipher the meaning of these scripts, it meant that Rain couldn't learn a very important part of the content in the book, the potion formulas. Considering that King of Dogs Cole had mentioned that he had hired several scholars from the county town who were also unable to recognize it, the difficulty of deciphering these scripts must be immense. But for Rain to simply give up was clearly impossible, because within it there might be some specific events related to my advancement from a dog trainer to a beast tamer, or perhaps there are key potions hidden in the book. None of these possibilities can be ruled out. One thing is for certain: if I manage to thoroughly research these potions and create them, it will undoubtedly greatly enhance my profession level as a dog trainer. After serious thought, Rain came up with two possible solutions to this problem. The first option was for Rain to transcribe a few of the discontinuous alien characters, write them on paper, and ask Chief Mate Shadia to help look for related text introductions or annotations in the castle's library. The second option was to wait until he officially joined the Night Watchman and then search for related materials through official channels. Just as Rain was mulling over this issue, a soft knock on the door sounded. "Come in." Rain knew it had to be Anna. It had been the same in recent days. He would bring Cookie to their room for some fun before bedtime. And after he fell asleep, Anna was responsible for bringing Cookie to Rain's room. Perhaps because Rain was a dog trainer and Cookie's owner, Cookie always chose to return to Rain's side before going to sleep. "Anna, has Bowie fallen asleep?" Rain asked gently, turning around. "Yes, she just fell asleep a little while ago. I'll go back now." Anna glanced at Rain and nodded shyly, but as she turned around, she seemed to notice something. "Oh, Rain, such a quaint amulet. May I take a look?" Anna asked, extending her hand curiously toward the wooden amulet that Rain had placed beside the book. "Of course you may." Rain casually picked up the wooden amulet and handed it to Anna. Anna took it and first examined it with delighted scrutiny before gently touching the amulet's surface with her delicate fingers, as if she were caressing a newborn baby. "What a unique amulet. The carvings are as though they were real. It feels so delicate to the touch," Anna said involuntarily. Clearly, Anna Lowe very much liked the amulet. Just as Rain was about to tease Anna, suddenly, a strange occurrence happened. The wooden amulet suddenly lit up with a soft green glow, shocking Anna to the point where she nearly dropped it on the floor. But it seemed as though she felt the green light to be very soft and comforting, so she bravely continued to hold the amulet in her hand, despite her fright. Rain had already walked over by then, just as surprised. He had had the amulet for several days now, but no matter how he handled it, such a peculiar phenomenon had never occurred before. "Rain, it seems I feel like I can control this green light," Anna said, looking up at Rain with her big eyes and speaking earnestly. "Don't panic and don't move. Let me have a look," Rain said soothingly. Rain carefully felt the green glow, which seemed to hold a mysterious allure that was drawing him closer. Rain's higher spirit attribute had come into play at this moment. He felt as if he could sense the green light emitting a certain fragrance of vegetation and the vitality of life. Furthermore, Rain's danger perception yielded no reaction, so he was fairly certain that the green light posed no threat. Moreover, at this time, Anna was holding the amulet, with her entire person bathed in the green light's glow. If there was something amiss with the green light, Anna would have been the first to encounter trouble. Thus, Rain boldly reached out to touch the green light slowly. The moment Rain's touch met it, the green light suddenly moved away from the amulet, enveloping his entire body in an instant. Suddenly, Rain felt as though he were soaking in a hot spring. It was as if he were a fetus floating in amniotic fluid. An unknown energy, signifying life and vitality, was now pouring continuously into his body. It made him feel thoroughly translucent. Even the air in the room seemed much fresher, and with each breath Rain took, it was as if he were inhaling the essence of plants. It felt like going from a big city to the Shenanjia forest region in an instant, where the air is so fresh it's overpowering and the negative ion content is off the charts. Gradually, the green light began to fade away. Rain felt exceptionally well, and glancing down, he noticed the small scars on the back of his hand from the battle had vanished without a trace. His hand now looked like a freshly peeled egg, devoid of any mark of scars. This is definitely transcendent strength, but it's clearly not the transcendent of the knight's path, seeming more like magic or witchcraft, using some kind of peculiar energy particles. Rain was very sure in his mind. But why could Anna trigger it, while his own touches had elicited no response whatsoever? Rain was puzzled for the moment. Suddenly, Anna's eyebrows furrowed slightly, and her delicate body swayed. Rain immediately noticed that Anna was clearly very exhausted at this point. Could it be because she triggered the strange green light from the amulet? Thus, Rain quickly stepped forward, took hold of Anna, and said softly, "Anna, are you all right? Maybe you should rest on the bed for a while." Perhaps because Rain was supporting her, a faint blush slowly suffused Anna's pale face. But she listened to Rain and slowly seated herself on the bed. "I'm fine, just feeling so tired, as if I have been sewing clothes all day and my head is spinning." Rain immediately realized that Anna's condition was very much in line with the symptoms of severe mental exhaustion. It appeared that Anna had triggered some kind of formation or something else on the wooden amulet, which caused the green light. And the entire triggering process required a considerable expenditure of her spiritual power.